spared no expense. Spared no expense.
Ontogeny. Ontogeny. ontogeny.
Oh, come on. Okay, is that a successful update right there? Can you see and or hear me? Hopefully both. Let me know. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Paleontologizing. It's great to have you here. We are digging up a duckbill dinosaur right now behind me. This is a pretty darn cool site. It's going to require a lot of interpretation, but I'm excited to walk you through it. It's not the prettiest dinosaur site in the world, but it is important. We'll be talking all about it. But welcome, everybody. And we already had a raid. Well, thank you, raiders. I appreciate that. Yeah. Excellent. If you're here for the very first time, welcome to Paleontologizing. And if you're not here for the very first time, welcome back to Paleontologizing. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist, and I'm out here in wild and windy western Wyoming, digging up dinosaurs in the Late Cretaceous Almond Formation. Kind of an obscure geological formation, which is cool because almost anything that we find here is going to be new. And man, have we been finding some stuff. So, yeah. I'll be showing you some of it. Anywho, and hello to you too, Twinkle122, Smorphosaurus, Simping for Huntress. Hunter says, I'm here to see Nick. He's right up there. Yeah, in the plaid shirt.
Ontogeny.
He wasn't feeling super well earlier, but he's here now. Went to check on him, and yeah. Sometimes going out to the desert kind of takes a little bit of a toll on you. You gotta take it easy, and so we're kind of taking it easy today. Starting out this site, and starting to collect some of these bones. But yeah. He said he was sick. Yeah, thankfully he's feeling a bit better. Well enough to come up here to walk all the way up from camp. So, yeah. Anyway, let's take a look at some of these bones, shall we? You came here to see some fossils, so fossils I shall show you. Now, like I was saying, this is not the prettiest site in the world, but in among these big chunks of sandstone, a dinosaur is lurking. I'll show you some of the more obvious bones sticking out right there. This is going to be a very technical site to collect. This isn't going to be the easiest dinosaur to dig up, but we've got some good people here who really know what they're doing, and I'm honored to be counted among them. Right here, I marked some of these with an X so that we don't miss them, but that is a big chunk of hadrosaur bone right there. So this is sandstone. Seems to be like a channel sand, so ancient river environment. Yeah, just sandy sediment accumulated and kind of concreted into these big sandstone blocks that we have here. And then buried within that, we've got dinosaur bone. So you can see up close that texture, kind of organic-y texture there. You can see the little bone cells. So this is the interior structure. This part's broken off, and it's just sticking there into the sandstone block. So these sandstone blocks were all up here, and then they, over the years, due to erosion, have crumbled and tumbled down. Now they're scattered among all this detritus over here. And then where the guys are standing up there, we've got more blocks that are still there in the ground that have not tumbled down yet. And hopefully, if we're very, very lucky, there could be a skull of this animal in there. That's what we're hoping for. Yeah. It looks crunchy, says Dapper Dame. It definitely is. Yeah. Yeah. And we've got some preserved skin over here, too, that I'm excited to show you. This is a really, really neat site. So, got another bit of bone right here in this boulder. Part of what we did this morning was just finding all these big chunks that have got pieces of bone in them. So there's the surface texture of the bone. See how it's all kind of whitish and smooth along here? Then bits of it broke off, and you can see the interior bone structure. There's a lichen growing on here too, which makes it a little bit confusing. But given that there's lichen on there, we know this has been exposed for a long time, because that stuff does not grow quickly. Lichen is not a fast-growing organism. And hey, Lordy, yeah, preserved skin. Let me show you some of that. We'll be returning to this a bunch of times today as people trickle in. But, here we go. There's a nice bone right here. This could be caudal chevron. It could be a fibula. My guess is actually it's a fib. Fibula, which is this bone here along the side of the shin. I'm guessing that's probably a fib, but we'll see. Got more chunks of bone throughout here. And even more here. Yeah, so the bone weathers kind of this nice whitish color over time. Yeah. Yeah. And then this right here is our smoking gun. This is how we know that this is a duckbill dinosaur, a hadrosaur. So part of this is still buried underneath. You can see how the bone itself kind of plunges underneath this. So it's covered up by matrix here. But, it's... Picture, mirror image this. So you've got this prong that comes off the side right there. We'll have one right there too. Picture this like a really blunt arrowhead. That is the big hoof of a duckbill dinosaur on the hind feet. So you can tell some of this has been eroded away. So you can see the interior of the bone right there. And then you still have some of the surface texture that's much more tightly woven, kind of smooth like this. That's the surface of the bone. And then this is where the surface has been eroded. You can see the interior with all the bone cells in there. Does that make sense? Yeah. Impromptu histo. There you go, Casey Snoward, yeah. And McMurdo Station, what a great name. How are you doing? Welcome to Paleontologizing. Yeah. So yeah. And then the skin is right here. So this is a negative impression of some of the skin. This kind of pebbly texture like this. Well, I guess in negative it's... As an impression of the skin, it almost looks like a honeycomb or something. But that is hadrosaur skin right there. And that's really, really cool. It's not as rare as you might think, though. I could be sitting here telling you, oh yeah, this is so rare, this is so special. But we find hadrosaur skin every once in a while. It's around. And it's usually it's always in kind of big blocky sandstone like this. Really well consolidated, really thick stuff. Oh, yeah, yeah. And there's some positive skin around here somewhere too, and I'll show you that when we find it. We got to pace ourselves here. Yeah. So yeah, yeah. Negative impression, but really positive impact. There you go, Rocky Authors. Yeah, yeah. And nothing more variant. Please don't hurt us. This is a stick up. Give us the dinosaur education. You bet. Yeah. The video looks really good. I'm glad, Lordy. I'm glad. It almost looks like there's a few little scratches on the lens. So I'm going to see if I can polish that up later. But I'm glad that you can see that really well. Dinosaur skin impressions right here. So when this animal died and got buried in this river channel, bits of skin, it was probably laying out for a long time. These guys had tough, pebbly skin. And yeah, a lot of that probably desiccated, dried out, just got really stiff. And then it got buried along with the bones. And it actually got preserved, which is really cool. And thanks, Afrobenicroll. It's good to see you. Welcome, welcome. And thank you for all the support, everybody. The primes and the cheering. Really appreciate that. Green Panther wants to know what part of the body that skin is from. Leg? With this, it's hard to say. Yeah. I don't think it's from the underside of the foot, even though one of the toe claws is right here, one of the hoofs. Because the texture doesn't quite look right for that. But this might be from the flank of the animal. It's really hard to say. Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully the wind is not too bad right now, too. I've got the fuzzy wind cat thing on. Yeah, the wind weasel, so hopefully that's cutting down on most of the wind. But we will get some big gusts coming through. I even feel a little bit of precipitation. We might get a few drizzles here and there. But I don't think it's going to stop us streaming anytime soon. Yeah. Anywho. Yeah. Associates in Paleontology. Oh, very cool, Hugin. Congratulations. Yeah, nice. But yeah, and Green Panther. So this probably would have been loose skin, like that had already, most of the animal had already rotted off, and you still had some skin left, and that's probably what's going on here. So the kind of the topography of this is not going to be reflective of the anatomy of the animal. Probably not. But not sure. We can ask Ethan about that because he's been. He found this site a number of years ago, and he's had a lot more time to study it. So he'll have a much better take on a lot of this stuff. Say things with greater confidence than I can. Yeah. But good. Yeah. And that is the watch band you sent, Kennedy. Yeah. Brand new. The other one was on its last legs. So thank you again, Kennedy, for sending that. Appreciate it. Yeah. And can't believe I found this. Welcome, welcome, Disco Fountain. Hello, hello. Welcome to wild and windy Wyoming. It's a nice overcast day today, not too hot. It's a good day for digging dinosaurs.
Spared no expense.
Yeah. And Broke Banshee, welcome, welcome. Nice. Fellow Hasanabi head here. Good to have you. Welcome, welcome to Paleontologizing. Yeah, welcome, welcome. Let's see. And Ken, how are you doing? Ken must be on the road right now. Ken just left us this morning, but he got here a couple days ago, the night before last. And unfortunately, we didn't do a stream yesterday, or could have said hello to Ken. But yeah, he's got to go back and work during the week. Anyway, hello, Ken. I hope your journey's going well. Yeah, so yesterday I was super busy. I had to bounce around to 4 or 5 different work sites, and so did not have time to stream. And I was hoping to do like a campfire stream last night, but by the time everybody got back to camp and we started the campfire, started dinner, it was just too late. It was like 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time. So, yeah, that would have been 10:30 p.m. Eastern. And who knows what time in Europe. So, yeah, glad we were able to start a stream a little bit earlier today. make sure this could happen. Yeah. Yeah, we'll go up there and we'll talk to some of the crew members. We've got some brand new people this year, and Doug, he's been digging dinosaurs for years and years, so we'll go say hi to them. And let me know if you've got any questions, anybody. That's kind of the whole point of doing these live rather than just doing a pre-recorded video. Is you can ask questions live, and we can talk all about this. So yeah, don't be shy with those questions. And Harry says, is it safe to have a dog around all those bones? Well, you'll see. Anyhow. Let's go see up here. All right. Oh, look at Edie. Yeah. Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Good.
Hello.
Yeah. Want to introduce ourselves real quick, if you don't mind? Say hi to everybody at home.
My name is James. I'm from Utah.
Nice.
Doug Shore, I'm from Texas.
Nice.
Y'all should know me. I'm Nick from the Ceratopsid site, so from Pennsylvania again.
Nice. Yeah. So yeah, we're having just kind of a chill day here. There's not a whole lot we can do until Ethan brings the rock saw back and starts cutting away at some more of that. So these guys have just been hard at work clearing away some of this, trying to get to more of those big sandstone blocks. So they've been clearing away this dirt and crud right here, the overburden. And they've been doing a great job of it.
Got some fossil right beneath here, so we're trying to level out the ground so we can see it a little better.
Yeah, looks to me like maybe limb bone or could be pelvic material. Right there, more of our duckbill. Yeah. Loopty Dude says Texas represent. Nice. Where in Texas?
Waco.
Waco. Nice.
I volunteer at Texas Through Time in Hillsboro.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Ontogeny.
Representing Texas Through Time as well.
Nice. Shout out to Texas Through Time. I've heard good things. Yeah, Ethan's done some work with them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. And then, James here works at the museum in Lehigh, right?
That's right, the Museum of Ancient Life at Thanksgiving Point.
Nice. I've done some live streams from there before, and it's really cool. That is definitely a museum to see if you're ever in that part of Utah, for sure.
Yeah, it's a large museum, and it's fully dedicated to ancient life.
Yeah. Some really, really incredible displays. I think they've got more mounted dinosaur skeletons than any other museum in the world. Is that right?
I would believe it. We got a lot.
There's a ton, and like half of those are the Nanosaurus ones. There's so many of those, right? Yeah, there's I think I remember 40 of them. But yeah, great museum. Yeah, and then Nick here works at the Carnegie Museum.
Yep, I volunteer at the Paleo Lab. I work with preparing the fossils collected from here and at the Ceratopsid site. So I decided to come on out here and see how they're pick them out of the ground here and take them back to the lab and see what we got.
What's really cool is that Nick was actually prepping the ceratopsian frill that we collected last summer here, and then just the other day, you started working at that site and you found more of the frill.
Yeah, so if you guys saw 2 days ago we thought was a turtle, that's part of maybe the squamosal of the ceratopsid. So I covered more of that and caught a pretty big piece, probably about that big.
Nice.
It's pretty fantastic.
That's awesome, and it's probably going to be a new species or maybe even a new genus. So, yeah, we'll have to see after it's cleaned in the lab. But that's awesome that
Took it out of the ground, got gypsona on it, and got it collected.
So pretty cool that Nick is able to he was working on that in the lab and then got to come out here and actually dig up more of the same animal. That's pretty special. That doesn't happen all that often. So
it's awesome. I love it.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, let's see. We've got some simping for Hunter says Nick's the best.
Yeah.
And the Ginger Snap says, hi James, that's my brother.
That's my sister.
Nice. Welcome. It's great to have you here. Yeah. But yeah. Hike the Earth says El Paso here. Nice. We got some Texans in the chat. Yeah. But welcome everybody. And again, let me know if I have any questions. I'll kind of let you guys get back to it, but I'll probably be popping in every once in a while and bugging you with questions and stuff. And,
yeah. Just keep working.
Yeah. And hello, Edie. How are you doing? Look at that. Yeah. You having a good day? Oh, she's been our camp dog for the past few days. It's been a joy having her around. So yeah, thanks guys. Cool. So yeah. And yeah, plenty of Texas today. Definitely Canada. And I'm from California originally, for anybody who's new. Born and raised, and that's where I live now, in the Bay Area. East Bay, which is, yeah, favorite place in the world. But this is pretty awesome too, out here near Green River, Wyoming. Hopefully you can see the little text at the top of the screen that says live paleontological fieldwork near Green River, Wyoming. I didn't have time to adjust the opacity on that, so hopefully it's at least partially visible. But yeah. And we've got a raid from Scorpio. Well, welcome to Paleontologizing. How you doing, Scorpio and raiders? Hope you had a great stream. We're digging up some dinosaurs here in Wyoming. And these are all going to go to the museum in Cincinnati. And we actually have some crew members from that museum visiting us, and hopefully before too long we can do a campfire stream and say you can meet all of them as well. Cool folks. And love from the Jammy. Oh, did Jammy Whammy Games just raid? Welcome, Jammy Whammy Games. How are you doing? Thank you for raiding in. It's great to see you. Let me say again, welcome to beautiful, wild, and windy Wyoming. Out here in the middle of nowhere, digging up dinosaurs. We're working in the Late Cretaceous Almond Formation. Really understudied geological formation. But the cool thing about that is almost any critter that we find is going to be new. So this is a duckbill dinosaur that we've got here. Kind of, you can see bits of bone sticking out from these big sandstone blocks. And the guys up there are digging down, clearing away some of that overburden, so that we can find some more of these big sandstone blocks. And if we are extremely lucky, there's going to be a skull in there.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic. But we have skin here too, and I'll show you some of that in a bit. And awesome, Scorpio. Hey, welcome. It's great to have you here. And this is my Twitch username. Thank you, Lordy, for reposting. How much time is spent doing fieldwork out of the year? What are some of your responsibilities when not digging away at rocks? Great question, the Twitch username. Great name, too, by the way. How long did that take to come up with? Yeah, so in a typical year, I'll spend about 2 months in the field. Most paleontologists honestly don't spend that long, but some paleontologists spend 3 or 4 or even 5 months out of the year in the field. It depends where you're at. Some of the best places in the world to find dinosaurs are also places that are kind of high desert environments like this. And often you can't work in these places during the winter because there's just snow on the ground everywhere. We saw some snow coming in actually the other day. There's still snow on the hills not too far from where we are. So yeah, that kind of limits the length of our seasons. Oftentimes, yeah, this is about as early as we could come out and expect to have okay weather. Beginning of June, and then there might be snow on the ground again by September sometimes. So we've got kind of a brief window when we can do field work in this part of the world. But there are some paleontologists who work in the northern hemisphere during northern hemisphere summer, and then in northern hemisphere winter they move down into the southern hemisphere to dig dinosaurs when it's summer in the southern hemisphere. Yeah, one of these days I'm going to be one of those people who does that, but not yet. When I'm not out in the field, I stream from my office back in the San Francisco Bay Area. So doing Q&A, going over fossil news, looking at new publications, new papers, doing interviews with other paleontologists, all that good stuff. And then I also conduct research. So writing up papers to get published, get new things into the scientific literature, all that. Yeah, and then attending conferences, talking with colleagues. Yeah. It's good life. Doesn't pay well. Kind of have to take a vow of poverty to be a paleontologist in a lot of ways. But I actually make my living through doing these live streams. So I'm really lucky. This has given me a lot of freedom. And thank you everybody in the chat who's contributed financially to make all this possible. you know, I am deeply grateful. I say it a lot, but I'm saying it again right now. Hope that's okay. But yeah. And do we know how old the duckbill dinosaur is? You mean how long ago it lived, or how old it was when it died? Because we have a better idea of how long ago it lived. I'll show you some of these bones again in a second. And the Lonely CPU Gaming says, how does one know where to dig exactly? You go out and you look. This is well, I think we have a command for this. Try !prospecting.
Spared no expense.
But yeah. And Monkey Bone says, that's amazing. So glad you could make a living doing something that was a dream of mine when I was a kid. So cool. I've been extraordinarily lucky. And I am privileged to be able to share that with you today. So, welcome. Hopefully you can live vicariously through this stream a little bit. It's, yeah, except you are hopefully at home, somewhere comfortable, maybe sitting on a comfy chair, and don't have to deal with the wind and the bugs and the rain and everything else. Sleeping in a tent every night. Although I love it. That's what I was born to do. Look at some of these bones.
Spared no expense.
Yeah. And thank you, Moonrise Rabbit, for that support. I really appreciate it. Thank you for those gift subs. That is beautiful. Yeah. Oh, and the altitude too, Ken. Yeah. Yeah, we're at like 7,000 feet here. Maybe 7,300 feet. I don't know. But the air is thin up here, and it takes some getting used to for sure. I'm gonna have to go up and get some water in a little bit too, because it really dries you out. We're in the high desert here in Wyoming. It's yeah. I don't know what the humidity is. It's probably very low. Does our weather command show humidity? Somebody try that out. Yeah. And Okragar says Dr. Grant would approve of this. I certainly hope so. Oh, funny story. Alan Grant from Jurassic Park is actually based on my old boss. That fictional character was based on Jack Horner, whom I used to work for when I lived in Montana. So, yeah. And 43%. That seems higher than I would imagine, but yeah. Anywho. Yeah, it's great to have you here, everybody. Again, for everybody who just waltzed in, take a look at got a lovely hadrosaur bone right here. They're kind of coming out of these big sandstone blocks like this. So we are going to be cutting these up with some rock saws as the week continues, and trying to get them into manageable chunks that we can transport back to the laboratory. So that's a big part of what we're doing at this site, is just using rock saws to try and smallin these boulders, make them carryable back to camp and then out to the laboratory. Where they're just sticking out of the rock. Exactly, pseudo-memes. Yeah. So that's the thing. I think a lot of folks, maybe because of Jurassic Park, a lot of folks think that we use advanced computerized technology to find fossils. I assure you that's not how it works. The most advanced, impressive technology we have right now on our expedition is what you're watching through right now. We've got satellite internet and this stream encoder right here. That is the most high-tech stuff we have here. The way that we find fossils is with the old Mark I eyeball. You walk along, you look at the ground, and you look for bits of bone that are sticking out of the surface. And then hopefully you can follow those up, and you can find where the bone is coming out, and if you're really lucky, there's more of a skeleton in there. It's called prospecting, and that's how we find these sites in the first place. But in order to prospect in the right spot, in the right kind of area, you need to look at your geological maps, know where the right kinds of rocks of the right age are exposed on the surface. Yeah. It takes a lot of planning to be able to find a dinosaur in the first place, especially in an area where people haven't really explored before. Kind of like here. and the Almond Formation. It's a very understudied geological formation. Yeah, kind of like gold, Banshee. Yeah, sort of. Yeah, yeah. Although with gold, sometimes you can dig in a certain area and expect to find gold. We never just dig in a random spot to find dinosaurs. You got to go out prospecting first. You walk many miles before you find anything good, usually. Do you send dust to verify it doesn't contain old DNA? No, Rebel Decibel. This stuff's too old for DNA, we think. Yeah. But yeah. Let's see. Digging up bones. There you go, Imagination 2 form. Welcome, welcome. And how far back do fossils here date back to? O'Krieger, about 73 million years old. Here, I'll do some kind of background on this. I'll get out my visual aids and I'll show you. I've got some laminated sheets that I brought out here that I put together so I can show rather than just telling. Yeah. Boldly go where no one has gone before, Wyoming. There you go, Steely Dan. Yeah. And Ghosty Lane, we don't have anything like that. No, we just find bone on the surface. Like this site was discovered. I think Ethan may have found this, or one of Ethan's crew members from a few years back. But there's just these blocks here on the surface, and there's hadrosaur bones sticking out of them right there. So that was our first indication, like, oh shoot, there's a dinosaur here. There's its bones sticking out. It's usually how these things start. Whether they're found by a professional paleontologist or whether they're found by, a bird watcher or a hunter or a dog walker or a hiker, a rancher or whoever, that's the way that a dinosaur gets discovered in the first place, is they're just bones sticking out. Yeah, erosion kind of brings them to the surface. Yeah. Mike Hornwest says, this is amazing. What an opportunity to experience real-time discovery of dinosaur fossils. Thank you for this. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your kind words. Yeah. I'm going to be streaming this as often as I can for the next month, till the end of June. So you'll be able to kind of watch our progress as we continue these excavations and get more of these bones out of the ground. And with each passing day, we learn more and more about what's going on here, so that we can tell what this ancient environment was like. Yeah. Nice work, fellas. Yeah. More of the rock exposed there.
Yep, a little bit.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
Nicely done. Cool. Let's get those visual aids. Oh, I gotta be careful not to walk in front of the satellite dish. I always do that. The signal cuts out. So, this way. All right. And here, I'll just take this with those sheets, and I'll bring it down there, and I'll grab my water bottle, so I don't parch myself. Yeah. Oof. Oops. Don't want to get the cords caught on the sagebrush there. Okay. Seems pretty windy today. It's not that bad, Awkward Cyborg. Wyoming winds can be horrendous. Like, knock big rig trucks off the road, horrendous. Blow trains over, horrendous. Wyoming is famous for its winds. So this today is nothing. Yeah. Yeah. Mike Hordwa says, cheers to Nick. Yeah. Hey Nick, do you know somebody named Mike Hornwa?
Mike
Hornwa, maybe? Might have been truncated. Hornwa says, cheers to Nick. Keep up the good work.
Yeah, that's my dad, I think.
Yeah, awesome.
What's up?
We'll go check in with the crew again in a little bit. But, yeah, Hey, Nick's dad. I hope you're doing well. It's good to have you here. Yeah. Thanks for making it possible for Nick to come out here. He's been a wonderful addition to the crew. I want you to know. So, and he's feeling better today too. I know he was a little under the weather recently, but I was checking on him and yeah, making sure everybody, you know, is taken care of. We look after each other out here, so don't want you to worry. Yeah, let me drink some water, and then we've got some visual aids here. So again, rather than just explaining this stuff, I can show you some visuals. Excuse me. My throat's been a little scratchy today. Because earlier at one of the other sites I had to run up a hill. I think I swallowed a bug. So there's just been a tickle in the back of my throat ever since. But the cough drops helped. Let's see. And hey, Beast King, how are you doing? Yeah, fieldwork stream. Definitely. Duck of Mirkwood, how are you doing? Hello, hello. It's good to have you here. Yeah. And did you guys need to turn up those boulders to find those hadrosaur bones? No, they were just sticking out like that, Deathsaurus. Yeah. Yeah. They were just sticking out like that. That's how the site was discovered in the first place. So here, a little bit of background. Let me kind of walk you through this, set the stage here. Because when these dinosaurs were walking around 73 million years ago, this landscape looked completely different. It did not look like this today, this kind of high desert, 7,000 feet elevation. No. During the late Cretaceous, 73 million years ago, this was at sea level. So this is a map that pretty well approximates what North America looked like at the time. This would have been beachfront property. So here's Wyoming. Here's where we are right now. This is 70.4 million years ago, and this map itself might be a little bit outdated. Science is always progressing. We're always learning new things, refining our understanding. So there's a combination of different things that make it so that this map is not completely accurate. But this shoreline here was even closer. We were right up on the shoreline. Like, this used to be the coast 73 million years ago. We call this the Western Interior Seaway. Sea levels were very, very high during the late Cretaceous. There was really no ice anywhere on planet Earth that I'm aware of. At least not a lot of ice. And so today, much of what's locked away in glaciers up in the Arctic and Antarctic, that was just, you know, liquid water. Raising sea levels all over planet Earth at the time. And, yeah, so back then, western Wyoming, right here, was beachfront property. This area had a lot of mountain building, big uplifting. So now we're 7,000 feet in the sky, but back then it was sea level. And so along this kind of lush coastline, you had tons of dinosaurs walking around. You had meat-eating tyrannosaurs, you had horned ceratopsians, kind of like triceratops, and you had duck-billed dinosaurs, like we're digging up here today. Do I have my duckbill? Yeah, so, critter kind of like this. This is Gripposaurus, if I remember correctly. So, it's called a duck-bill dinosaur because they've got kind of a duck-like bill. This is the same kind of critter we're digging up here. This guy doesn't really have a big showy crest.
Ontogeny.
On this skeletal reconstruction, we don't know whether or not our critter here had a big showy crest. But, yeah. Because the thing is, there's two major groups of duck-bill dinosaurs. In the late Cretaceous, there's the Saurolophines. Like this guy, relatively flat-headed. Sometimes they've got a big schnoz on them like that. But relatively flat-headed, and the other group, the Lambeosaurians, have all kinds of crazy, you know, crests on their heads, like Parasaurolophus. Can we get some Parasaurolophus going in the chat? And you have a showy crest too? Imagination 2 for him? Nice. So we don't know if ours is one of the relatively flat-headed guys or one of the big, showy, crested guys, because the animals tend to be pretty similar throughout the rest of the skeleton. It's just the skull is wildly different. And, whoop! Well, there goes my visual aid. I'll have to get that later. Let's hope I can find it. I don't want to be littering. Oh, thank you, James. Don't worry if you can't find it. Oh, boy. Yeah. Anyway. Live broadcast. Anything can happen. So, yeah. Yeah, I'll walk you around. I'll show you a bit more of some more of these bones for people who've just walked in. Yeah, so right there, got a lovely bone just sticking out of the rock. And this is cool because you can see both the surface texture right here, kind of tightly woven, smooth, almost shiny kind of texture. And then where that's worn away, where it's been weathered, you can see the interior bone texture with all of those little bone cells in there. Yeah. Good stuff, and then you see more of that here. You can see that kind of trabecular texture all along there. Yeah. So yeah, these big sandstone blocks represent an ancient channel. So you know, a river, sandy bottom to it, and yeah, that river continued to accumulate more and more sand at the bottom until it turned to stone, compressed like that. Thank you so much, James. I appreciate that. No, that's great.
White thing flashed by my eye, and I was like, oh.
Good vision, yeah.
You lost something.
Yeah. So yeah, there's our duckbill dinosaur. Oh, the ossified tendons I was telling you about earlier, James, are these. They kind of crisscross like that over the neural spines to stiffen the tail.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And then they go across the dorsal vertebrae as well.
Huh. Why,
Yeah.
why would they need to stiffen their tail?
Probably just to help hold up the tail, so it doesn't droop. Because they're like such big, heavy animals that like, and also if the hip is kind of like a fulcrum right here, and if they're rearing up on their hind legs to run, then you want to be able to hold up the front of the body without without that sagging. So like this, it just stiffens the backbone, so that so they don't get all droopy.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
sauropods have this kind of thing too?
They don't really. Some of them have almost similar things in their neck vertebrae. But their tendons don't really tend to turn to bone like in ornithischians like this. Actually, but some saurischians do that too, like Velociraptor and other dromaeosaurs. They've got those stiffening rods in their tail. Similar kind of idea, but it looks a lot different because it evolved separately. It's like convergent evolution.
Got it.
But yeah. Anyway.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, everybody at home, I'll see if I can show you some of that tendon because I think we have somewhere over here.
It's up here.
Oh, did we bring it up there?
Yeah, it's up
Nice. We'll take a look at that in a little bit then. Yeah. But thank you again, James. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, and yeah, this is how we can tell, for everybody who just waltzed in, this is how we can tell this is a duckbill dinosaur. This is a characteristic shape of one of their hooves. So that is right here, these big toe claws, we call pedal unguals, U-N-G-U-A-L, ungule. Those are the bony core for the foot claw, which is basically like a big hoof on these guys. And so right here, we've only got about half of it exposed. So see how it goes like that? It should go like that on the other side too, like a big blunt arrowhead. So this is the end of the hoof right here, and this is where it articulates with the toe bones. Yeah, and again, you've got surface texture, and then interior texture, where the surface has been worn away. It's been eroded by the elements. So pretty cool. That was our smoking gun. That's how we know this is a duckbill dinosaur that's coming out of here. There is a chance there's more than one animal. We do have a bit of a turtle from here, which is cool also. But we think so far this is probably one dinosaur at this site. But that could change. It could all change. You guys digging up there, who knows, could find another dinosaur right here. It happens in these channel sandstones. Yeah. And is that dotted bit an impression of the skin? It is, Moonrise Rabbit. Thank you. I almost forgot. This is an impression of the skin right here. This kind of pebbly texture like this. that is duckbill dinosaur skin. Pretty neat. These guys must have had such tough skin in order to have it be preserved like this. We're not talking about like kind of leathery skin like on an elephant. We're talking about like pebbly, almost like on a Komodo dragon, but much, much bigger. You know, tough skin. Tough enough that when most of this animal rotted away, bits of the skin were still there and got buried in the sand along with the bones. So, pretty darn cool, right? Yeah. Yeah, not quite crocodile-y, sort of barnacle bum, I guess. I don't know. Excuse me, I'm being pedantic here, but when I think of crocodile skin, I think of those osteoderms, the armor plates, the bony armor plates that they have in their skin. And hadrosaurs didn't have that. Just kind of like a really tough lizardy skin without the crocodile armor plates. Yeah. And no feather fossils though? Yeah, Sammers, we don't have a lot of feather fossils from North America. The Canadians found a few up there. There's a feathered ornithomimid. We might have a theropod or two with feather quill knobs preserved on the ulnae, but apart from that, we just don't of feathers. Although I bet you a long time ago, back in like the late 1800s, early 1900s, and just nobody knew to look for feathers. They're like, oh, that rock looks weird, and they just dug through it, either in the field or in the lab. There was probably a tendency to do that back then, because nobody knew to like pay attention and look for feathers. So there were probably more than a few specimens where, you know, the feathers just got destroyed during the excavation process, because nobody thought to look for them. Nobody knew what they were looking at back then. Sort of thing happens a lot. Tubercloid or something like that. Yeah, Moonrise Rabbit. That might be a good descriptor for the skin. Yeah. And thank you for the hydrate, Zool. Appreciate that. Let me drink some water here. And let me put this in the satellite case so it doesn't blow away. Yeah. And Danny, we're going to see jacketing? Not today, Miss Yvette, but soon. Soon. There were some jackets. Nick helped make some jackets at the Ceratopsian site yesterday, but I didn't have time to stream yesterday. I bounced around to 4 or 5 different sites. But you'll see plenty of... You're going to be tired of jacketing by the end of the summer, Miss Yvette. Yeah. And Super Barchi says, do you know which duckbill it is? We don't, and that's super exciting because it's probably going to be a new species, if not a new genus. So that's exciting stuff. Yeah. All right. Yeah. The Victorians meant well. There you go, Smartfet. Yeah. Yeah. And O'Cragar says, you'd have to imagine that over the eons during the Cretaceous, feathered dinosaurs probably never seen. Oh, there certainly were. Yeah. We're still finding, there's, on average, a new dinosaur is described in the scientific literature. A new dinosaur is named, published, about every 9 days. That's been the trend for the past decade. That's been the average for the past decade, is about every 9 days there's a new dinosaur, genus, or species that gets published. So we're finding new things all the time, and hopefully some of these are going to be new too, because, again, this is from the Almond Formation. It's a particular horizon of time in this particular place nobody's ever found before. Like, we don't have dinosaurs from exactly 73 million years ago from this part of the world, and so we expect these critters to probably be new. We're, of course, going to properly clean the fossils and study them, all that stuff, just like you do. You can't just say, oh, this is new because of the time. You got to actually study it, figure it out. But extremely high likelihood that these are new critters, never before seen. And yeah, dinosaurs, yeah, Thomas Henry Huxley. That's a long story. We're actually going to talk about that probably in the fall when we talk about dinosaur bird origins and all that stuff. And we'll probably talk about that one of these evenings when we do a campfire stream. I could talk to Glenn Storrs about that. Glenn Storrs, the curator of the Cincinnati Museum, is out with us, and it's been a joy to be able to talk with him. And he was a student of John Ostrom's. John Ostrom holds a hallowed place in the paleontologizing community. Glenn Storrs was John Ostrom's student, so we'll talk a bit about that too. And Sylvia Baker wants to know, is America less explored than other parts of the world? No. It's because this area is more explored that we have so many dinosaurs from here, really. When I say this area, I mean the Rocky Mountain region of North America. From Alberta and Saskatchewan in the north, all the way down to like New Mexico in the south. We've got so many dinosaurs from here because there are a lot of paleontologists out looking for them. There are a lot of dinosaurs in other places too. I'm sure there's tons of dinosaurs across Siberia that have never been discovered. Dinosaurs in other parts of the world like that. You know, probably Iran, Afghanistan. But you don't have dinosaur paleontologists out there looking for them. And so we just don't know about them yet. You know? The United States has more dinosaurs described, you know, from this country than from any other country in the world. And it's because there's been so much exploration here. There's been so much field work and so much research. Yeah. And there you go, Diagonal. Exactly. Yeah. And Rocky Altars, let's see. Saying modern-day dinosaurs, birds, of course, how much variance there is in them. Find it less mind-boggling to comprehend. Mammals also are super diverse morphologically. Like, mammals are kind of crazy diverse when you think about it. You know, you've got super, super tiny shrews and stuff like that weighed less than an ounce, and then you've got whales that are some of the biggest animals that have ever lived. You know, you've got aquatic mammals, you've got terrestrial mammals, you've got burrowing mammals, you've got flying mammals. Did I repeat anything there? Hoofed mammals and running mammals and, you know, so many different kinds of mammals. You could make an argument that mammal is a much broader group than dinosaur, that dinosaur is a more specific clade, but, you know, it's all arbitrary at the end of the day, really. Comparing apples and oranges. No theropod scraps yet, Deathsaurus, but it'd be really cool to find some shed theropod teeth at this site. We'll see if we find any. Yeah.
Ontogeny.
And yeah, Sylvia Baker, dinosaur science started in Europe, in England back in the 1820s. But Europe does tend to be a bit more, shall we say, developed. It's a lot more buildings there. But another big thing is that there's not a lot of exposed rock. Europe is not really a place that's famous for its deserts. In order to find, like, good fossils like this in tremendous numbers, you need a lot of exposed rock on the surface. A high desert environment like this. And this is remarkably green for Wyoming right now. They must have had a ton of snow and a ton of rain this spring in order for everything to look so lush. Like, I don't know. I'm used to there being just super scattered plants right here that are just barely clinging to life. But all of these bits of sagebrush and scrub, they all look really happy right now. They've been living large. Well, all this moisture they've been getting. Yeah. There is one desert in Spain. This is true. Rums de Bums, and sure enough, there's a ton of dinosaurs coming out of there. Yeah. Spain and Portugal. The Iberian Peninsula. Spain is really... There's some amazing things going on there with dinosaur paleontology. I talked about this with Jim Kirkland when we did our stream last week. But yeah, during the Franco regime, science, learning in general was very much discouraged there. There weren't any dinosaur paleontologists in the whole country of Spain for decades. But now there have been a number of people from Spain who have been trained in dinosaur paleontology, and they're starting their own laboratories and doing field work, and it turns out Spain is a treasure trove of dinosaur fossils, especially out in the, in those desert regions. So yeah, exciting things happen in Spain and Portugal in terms of dinosaur paleontology nowadays. Yeah. And Othosaurus, I would say you're correct about that, yeah. The iguanodons from Bernissart was probably the biggest dinosaur fossil find in Europe. Probably. Yeah. And Afro Bennett Girl says, can you explain again the process of what happens after you take the cast fossils away from the site? Not casts, you're probably thinking jackets. Jackets are the protective cocoons that we build around the fossils in order to transport them safely to the laboratory. And so, process of what happens after you take the jackets or fossils away from the site. So they go back to the laboratory, and they get opened up and cleaned. And here, let's maybe go talk to Nick about that, because he's had first-hand experience with fossil prep from some of this stuff here in the Almond Formation. Yeah. What was that like working on the jackets from here in the Almond?
It was awesome. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
You get first you get sent to the lab, and then get called up. Whoop.
Live broadcast.
Yeah. The wind's crazy here.
Yeah.
And then it's just like opening up a cast from broken bone.
Yeah.
You get a nice little buzz saw or
A cast cutter usually. Yeah.
oscillating saw. I think that's the term.
Yeah.
Cut it open. You go around the jacket, and then you get usually an X-Acto blade, and you cut the burlap after you cut around it, and then you get a crowbar and you gotta pry it open.
Yep.
You always make sure
like taking the lid off
you
the top.
open it. Yeah, you always gotta make sure that you open it at the bottom side.
Yeah.
You expose rocks at the top, and you don't want any of that to get messed up or crumble away or
Exactly. Yeah.
damaged during the prep.
Yeah. So you're just working there in the laboratory. Do you have like dust collection equipment and stuff like that in the lab? There?
Absolutely.
Nice.
Big thing. You don't
Nice.
want to have
Yeah.
dust fill up in your lungs, so you got to have all
Yeah.
these ventilation systems, and they kind of just suck up all the rock and all the dust. Masks are pretty big, and
Yeah.
sometimes eye protection you need.
Yeah.
Even more so, you kind of need like a little bit of a lab coat or an apron to keep yourself clean from the plaster hitting
Yep.
you.
Yeah. And all that Cretaceous dust too. Yeah. Yes,
yeah.
the whole point is just to remove the rock as carefully as possible under controlled laboratory conditions so that we can see the surface of the bone and get it all glued up and consolidated and keep it from falling apart.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So after you take off the jacket now, you could see all this wonderful piles of rocks.
Yeah.
So you just gotta carefully sift through and get rid of all the rocks that's around the bone. And then there's gonna be fragments here and there, so you gotta make sure make sure you gotta know what's rock and what's bone.
Yeah.
And if a fragment's there, you can put it off to the side so you can clean up around it, but make sure you have a mapped area of your jacket so you know exactly what bone came from where. Makes the prep phase or the cleaning phase a lot easier because you get to know where things are put. Yeah, that's really about it.
Yeah.
And then you put it or you get it out, see how it fits together, and then you take it back to the lab and clean it up using a little air scribe. Get all that matrix off because that's can be really easy, can be really difficult.
Yeah.
Water helps. Water helps a ton.
Yep.
Loosen that stuff up, and then you get ready to put it together and put some putty in to fill up the
All the
missing
cracks.
spots.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Nick.
No
Yeah.
problem.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt again. You guys are doing great over here.
Yeah, we're thinking
Yeah.
that since the bone is exposed here and here, and really not much here, and the way that the bed's tilting, I'm thinking that maybe some more exposed bone might be towards this way.
Could be. Yeah.
Instead of
Yeah.
this way.
We'll probably have to move all that stuff. Maybe not today. Maybe tomorrow
Yeah,
we'll move
no.
that and then kind of dig in that direction. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And
no, you guys are doing great. I know this is not the most fun work doing overburden like this, so I appreciate your diligence and your hard work here.
Well, you got to get
Yeah.
through the crummy stuff to get to the good stuff.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. How many field seasons do you think this is for you now, Doug? You've got a lot under your belt. While he's calculating, I'll say Doug has worked with crew from the Denver Museum of Nature and Science for a number of years, and that was some like, banner work out there. They did some really cool stuff in the Kaiparowits of southern Utah. So yeah, Doug's been doing this for a long time. Yeah, and we do have a dog here. There's Edie right there. Yeah.
We'll just say over 10.
Over 10? Nice. Yeah. So, yeah, we've got some people who are kind of new here, and we've got some people with a lot of experience. So it's a good group. It's nice to be able to like run a crew where you can be kind of like an incubator for young paleontologists. I think that's really neat. So, yeah, shout out to Ethan Cowgill for making all this possible. This is his brainchild, and hopefully we'll see him driving up before too long, because he's coming back from Salt Lake today with some supplies and a different truck. The rental agency gave him the wrong one with a short bed on it, so we're gonna need a long bed for moving a lot of these things back to storage so we can get them to the laboratory. So anyway, yeah, good work, guys. Thanks. Yeah, I will cease interrupting you now for the time being. Yeah. Yeah. Enlightened says, I haven't really gotten used to the scale of USA. Oh, yeah. Shoot. When I used to do fieldwork in Montana with Museum of the Rockies, sometimes we would have volunteers who would fly in from Europe, from England in particular. And all of the Brits were just blown away by how big Montana is. They were astonished. Because, we'd pick them up at the airport, and then we'd drive out to our field site, and it might be a 7 or 8 hour drive. And that's just, maybe halfway across Montana. 7 or 8 hours of driving at, 75 miles per hour, 80 miles per hour. It's a big country. It's a big country. And it's pretty, I'm not going to say empty, because it's full of natural beauty, wildlife, like fantastic native plants, and just amazing scenery. But in terms of human infrastructure, man-made stuff, it's very empty. But that's part of what makes this part of the world so special, Yeah. The USA is still not as large as Texas, though, says Gene. Oh, yes, of course. Texas is, about a dozen times larger than the known universe, as we all know. Unlike Australia, same size, far more empty. Yeah, there you go, John Drew. Yeah. The Montana sky, apparently. Well, that's true, Rocky Alters. The Montana sky would be bigger than Montana because of the curvature of the Earth. That makes sense. Yes. Oh, and Claire Bird, thank you, from Mike Hornroth. How do you decide which fossils are worth excavating from the rock? That's a great question. Yeah. So here, we have a good sense that this is what we call articulated, or at least associated. These bones belong together. If there's just a random bone somewhere, it might not be worth collecting, especially if it'll take a lot of work to get it back to the laboratory. But here, here, I need to drink some more water. Here, we have a good sense that this is going to be a new animal, because we can tell it's a hadrosaur. And we've got skin on it. And at this particular site, we're actually digging on private land that we have permission for. And so anytime something's on private land, it's kind of a higher priority, because the land could always get sold or something like that. When you dig on public land and you get your permits, the Bureau of Land Management, those guys are great, and they're, you kind of know where you stand with them. When it's private land, it could be a little more, unpredictable. So that's why this site is a priority for us digging up right now. Yeah, because who knows if we'll have permission here next year. I'm sure we will. I'm sure the private landowners have been lovely people But in general, private land, you really want to get a move on with that. Because, you know, it's private land. But yeah. Anywho. Let's see. My sister was digging somewhere in Italy this summer. Really, Squan? Very cool. Yeah. How do you decide where to cut the rock? Smartfate, that's a great question. Here, we're just going to be cutting the rock into pieces that are manageable. So we might even be slicing directly through some of these bones because these bones are just sticking out of the rock right here, and there will be ones under the surface that we can't currently see. So we're going to be taking the rock saw, just trying to cut this into manageable pieces. And if we cut through bone, then we cut through bone. It'll be a nice, even cut, and we should be able to put it back together safely in the laboratory. It's not 1,000,000% ideal to cut through bone like that, but it'll be a nice clean cut, and it's much better than leaving the stuff out here where it'll eventually get destroyed by erosion. So, you know, we do what we can, especially with a limited budget like we've got. And we've not found any human skulls, Quan. No, those would be like in topsoil, you know. These are, you know, these dinosaur bones are literally in bedrock. And there were definitely no humans back then. Back then, during the Cretaceous, mammals, for the most part, a few exceptions, they looked like little rats or mice or gerbils or voles or shrews. That's what our ancestors looked like back then. Yeah. Cut my rock in 2 pieces. This is my last resort. There you go, Steely Dan. Yeah. Now we're really lucky to have that rock saw. Other crews would not be able to collect this dinosaur. And we're lucky that we've got a rock saw and we know how to use it. Yeah. That was, you guys last year actually paid for that. So thank you again with all of your funding through the experiment.com fundraiser. You made it possible for us to buy that rock saw, so thank you. That's the reason we can dig up this dinosaur in the first place and don't just have to leave it here to get destroyed by the elements over the decades. And was this hadrosaur prospected at the end of last year? No, this was a few years ago. This might have been 2021 that Ethan and co found this. And we didn't have permission to dig it up because it's on private land. But we've got permission this year, which is really cool. Yeah. And you're welcome for the answer there based on air, if that was me. We've got some very helpful moderators and other people in chat answering questions too. Yeah. And why do you wait until this time of year to dig? Because when the summer is the only time we really can dig. Because in the winter and spring there's still snow on the ground, and then in the fall it could be snowing again as early as September. So, yeah, summer is the time to do it. Gather ye dinosaurs while ye may. Yeah, and luckily it's not too hot right now. We've got these lovely clouds providing some shade. Got a nice breeze. It's making the audio all scuffed up, but also cooling us off. So yeah. Any earlier than this, if we were digging in like May, it would probably be too cold and there'd probably still be snow on the ground. So beginning of June, even the beginning of June is kind of cutting it close. We'll be lucky if we don't get any snow. Yeah. And Balint, Science Streams, how are you doing? Welcome. I hope you are doing well, Balint. Welcome to wild and windy western Wyoming. But yes, most of the digs are on BLM land. Bureau of Land Management. Our sacred federal lands here in the U.S. Don't forget to wear sunscreen. You bet, Melanie Mayhem. In fact, that reminds me. Let me put some more chapstick on. The air is so dry here that there is... What's the danger? Your lips will dry out. And where did I put that? There it is. Other pocket. But yeah, I got sunburns on my lips last summer here. That was not fun. So, gotta be careful. Gotta take care of that. Yeah. But yeah. Wild, windy, western Wyoming. There you go. Arley, yes. Yeah. But it's a dry heat. Well, it's a dry wind today. Very dry. Not what I'm used to. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. That's where I was born and raised. And yeah, you know, we might get 70% humidity there. I don't know what typical humidity is for the Bay Area. Here in Wyoming, it's like 40%, sometimes down to 20% humidity. It's very dry, very dry. And Dinosaur Dave says, how we going in the middle of nowhere, Danny? Chill on the beach today. Nice. Glad you're enjoying a beach day. Things are going well here. Yeah. Signal seems to be good. The wind isn't too bad. You can still hear me. And we're digging up a duck-billed dinosaur. So, yeah, living the dream here. And if you ever get the landowners out there to take a peek. So I think this land is owned by a corporation. But Ethan talked to them and got special written permission for digging here. So yeah, I kind of doubt anybody from there will visit. But last year we did have officials from the Bureau of Land Management who came to visit us at one of our BLM quarries on federal land. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And has the dish fallen? Wait, hang on. What do you mean, Miss Yvette? No, it's up there. We lose signal? Commander Argo says, how do you guys go about searching for other dig sites? Oh, we do what we call prospecting. Somebody bring up the prospecting command again. But here, I can kind of show you. Prospecting just means walking along and using the old human eyeball to look for bits of fossil on the ground. So, I'll show you an example. We shouldn't find anything right now live because we tried to scoop everything up this morning, but there's probably going to be a few bits and pieces left. So basically you just walk along, you look for bits of bone here on the surface. So this almost looks kind of bony, but no, it's not the right texture. That's just rock right there. And we already scooped up almost all the bone. I can show you some of it up there that we've already collected this morning. But yeah, you just walk along slowly, and it's something that takes a lot of practice, being able to pick out bits of bone in between all the rock. That's more rock right there. But if you're not constantly picking things up, if you're not picking up 10 rocks for every bone that you find, you're not trying hard enough. That's what I always say. That's how it works. So you do this across this vast landscape like this, and then hopefully you find little bits of bone kind of spilling out from the hillside, and then you follow them up and you try and find where they're eroding out of. And hopefully there's more in there. Hopefully you find a skeleton. Yeah. I take it you get people of many professions also tagging along? Absolutely, mushrooms are jazz, yeah. So we have a few professional paleontologists on our crew right now. Some of them from the museum in Cincinnati. Yeah, we've got Glenn Stowers, we've got Takuya, we've got Cameron from Cincinnati, and they're all here. You'll meet them later when we do like a campfire stream. Turn this away from the wind. But yeah, we've got a lot of students here. We've got people who have other day jobs, like I used to have. People who do, work in museums. People who are, Ken is a truck driver. People who do all kinds of different stuff here. So yeah, it's just it's a nice opportunity to hang out with some cool people. Sleep under the stars, and contribute to dinosaur paleontology by finding and collecting dinosaur fossils. So it's a pretty cool gig out here. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. And will there be marshmallows? Asked Lauren. I don't think we have any marshmallows. Somebody was asking about that last night, and I don't think we have any marshmallows in camp. It's been kind of our meals have been a little bit Spartan. We're trying to stretch our budget as far as it can go. So no marshmallows yet, but maybe later in the summer. We're just still kind of establishing camp right now. Ethan will be bringing some more supplies and the last parts of our supply tent stuff like that too. So we're still at this point kind of building camp, even after a couple days of being out here, because I'm going to be out here for the whole month, through the end of June. So plenty of time for digging dinosaurs. Yeah. Should deliver some via drone, says Samarfa. Be a pretty far trip for a drone out here in the middle of nowhere, with high winds and I don't know. It's Wyoming. If some ranchers see a drone flying over their property, you know, they're gonna shoot that thing out of the sky. Yeah. And Deathsaurus says, in all seriousness, I hope this will show all the folks in chat how grueling it is to be a paleontologist. They do it for love and knowledge. Yeah, nobody out here is getting paid except for the people who are professionals, like they're salaried at their various museums. And Ethan works for the Utah Geological Survey. Although I guess, strictly speaking, he's not getting paid out here. I'm getting paid because this is how I make my living, you know, doing Twitch broadcasts. But everybody else is volunteering, you know? They've taken time out of their lives to be here. They've brought their own vehicles out here, driven out, using their own money for gas. They've bought their own supplies, their own tents, their own food in some circumstances. And they've taken time off work to be out here. So it really is a labor of love. This is not... Don't become a paleontologist if you're after fortune and glory, because those things are not available to us. Grub up in Safeway, see if they'll deliver. I don't think we have a Safeway in Green River, Wyoming, do we? Yeah. Uo's Lab says, this is awesome, dude. Thanks. I appreciate that. We've got 624 people watching right now, according to this counter. Let me walk you through, and I'll show you some more of these bones. For those of you who just waltzed in, we're digging up a duckbill dinosaur here. And this is not an easy site to work, because we've got all this stuff just in these big sandstone boulders here that tumbled down from up there. So here, we've got what almost looks like a fibula to me. It doesn't look like a transverse process. It's not the right shape for that. So this seems to be a shin bone from like this part of the shin, fibula, right here. And there's the surface texture right there, nice and tightly woven, nice and smooth. And then where the surface has been eroded away, you can see the trabecular texture, the interior of the bone, all spongy like that. I recognize that a lot of folks are not really familiar with what bones look like, especially after they've been weathered, even like modern bones, but you get that same kind of texture in modern bones too. Yeah. Oh, and we're getting some raindrops here. Getting a little bit of rain. Hopefully it's not too much. Hopefully we don't have to end the stream. I think we'll be okay. You know, we get clouds coming through here and they dump a little bit of rain and then they go on their way, so we'll continue for now. Yeah. And then this is one of the more spectacular parts of this site so far. Again, we just started here a couple days ago. We don't have a lot exposed except what was already exposed when we got here. So this is the hoof of a duckbill dinosaur right here. One of the big toe claws on the hind foot. So this is just the left side of it right here. The right side should go like that, like this, and then like that. But it's still under the rock right here, under the matrix, protected by that rock. So in life, this would have been covered by a keratinous sheath, kind of like the sheath on a cat's claw. Any of you have cats at home? Do they ever shed those sheaths from their claws? That's keratin. It's the same material as like our fingernails, or like a rhinoceros's horn. And these dinosaurs have the same thing over their claws. So you can see that those little pits right there, right there, right there, right there. Those would be for blood vessels to supply the keratin with nutrients. Kind of like how our fingernails are constantly growing. Keratin like that is, you know, it's a living tissue. Yeah. And then we've got skin texture right here, which is really cool to see. That nice kind of pebbly texture. So this is a negative impression. So this is like, I guess the skin itself is already eroded away. And so we just have the rock there. The rock is a little bit tougher than the bone here. which is slightly frustrating, but it's pretty common for, for the surrounding rock, the matrix, to be stronger than the bone. So that's why the bone weathers faster than the rock does. So we're lucky we caught this when it did, because, you know, in a decade's time, it's just be gone. You know, no more bone anywhere. Just impressions. Yeah, will you make a cast of the skin? We're going to collect this, Presniak. We're going to collect this part, take a rock saw and go... And, and there should be more bone in here, too. Ethan thinks that a lot of this might be articulated, so the bones might be in life position. You know, touching each other like they would in life. Which would be really cool. Yeah. Let's see. And yeah, we're going to take as much of this as we can, okay, to play. That skin is cool stuff. And that might even be on display in Cincinnati in a few years if you want to go see it. Because all these fossils are going to be going to the Natural History Museum in Cincinnati. We got some more bone right here with that trabecular texture. Yeah. Nice. And then...
So close.
I think it's up there that we've got the actual, like, positive skin. Let's go take a look at that, actually. Yeah. Let's go take a look. Let's see here. And we're going to see some of those bits that we've carried up there.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we got more limb bone right here. This could be like a femur in here. Something big. See that surface texture of the bone? Much different from the rock. Oh, and this big hashtag right here. Ethan drew this with chalk yesterday. He's going to be cutting through here with the rock saw so that we can remove these bits of rock kind of bit by bit with some chisels. So Doug and I were doing this yesterday. Ethan cuts through with the rock saw, and then we use some chisels to cut in from the sides and use a hammer and remove those, chuck them over there, make this a little smaller. So yeah.
You want to take a look at that one thing?
Yeah, the ossified tendon there. Yeah, nice.
So we got it.
Beautiful.
Right here.
I'm pretty sure that's what that is. So this is a bit of tendon from the animal's back or its tail. And over the course of the animal's life, that tendon would actually turn to bone to help stiffen the backbone and help keep these animals upright. Because they did not drag their tails, they held their tails aloft in the air. And so having tendons like this would help them do that. Think about it like, almost like suspension cables on a bridge, like the Golden Gate Bridge. Kind of like that. It's not the best analogy. But yeah.
And then we got that spot.
Think of it like rebar.
Yeah, rebar. That's a good way to put it. Like rebar inside of concrete. Yeah. And that's probably more tendon right there, except it got weathered away, and you just have an impression in the rock there. Because unfortunately the rock here, it seems to be a bit tougher than the bone is. But that's how it often goes. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we've got several other cool fossils that we've discovered here. Just making a little pile of them.
Yeah. Yeah, big chunk of bone. I collected that earlier. So, not the prettiest chunk of bone, but you got that trabecular texture right there. And the bone self. We've got more bone right here. Oops. There we go. And then, where was did we have a piece of really nice skin up here somewhere?
It's down there.
It's down there, okay. Cool. I'll show you that in a little bit. But, yeah, so we picked these up this morning so they wouldn't get lost in the shuffle. And, yeah, the shuffle or the shovel. Yeah. And tribecular, like Alex Tribecular? No, little Uzi Nate, no. Not like Alex Trebek. Yeah. Let's see. So we got I'm looking for the really nice, like, positive skin that we've got. Oh, yeah, nice. Thank you, Doug. Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, so I put an X there. We've got this bone. And then, where's our skin? Yeah, look at that. Gorgeous. So this is the actual, like, skin preserved right here. I think. I don't think this is an impression. I think that's the actual thing, but that pebbly texture, that is what the skin of this duckbill dinosaur looked like. pretty neat. So before you all saw the negative impression, here's the positive. Right there. Yeah, pretty neat. 73 million year old duckbill dinosaur skin. Pretty awesome. Thank you, Doug.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. Yeah. Alright. Yeah. Neat stuff. And Jogazor says, wow, yeah, welcome. It's good to have you here. For anybody who's just come in, let me introduce myself again real quick. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. This channel is called Paleontologizing because the whole point of these broadcasts is to show you how fossil science works. You know? Fossil science isn't just like some dusty collection of facts. It's not like a book sitting on a shelf. Paleontology is a way of learning about the world around us. It's a methodology. It's a way of testing ideas and collecting evidence. So paleontologizing. It's a verb, you know? I'm here out in western Wyoming digging up dinosaurs with a really cool crew of people. And chances are, almost every dinosaur we dig up here stands a really good shot at being a new species. Because this particular set of rocks, the Almond Formation of western Wyoming, near the town of Green River, this is all more or less unexplored. Barnum Brown worked here back in the 1930s and dug up some dinosaurs and never named any of them, never really published any of them. And so there's a lot left to be done here, which is super cool. Do you ever find young modern bones and confuse them for dinosaurs? No, based on error. So modern bone is not fossilized. We do find a lot of it out here. In fact, I bet you I can show you. I think there's some chunks of modern bone over here. Hopefully the signal doesn't cut out. I think we're close enough to the router where it should still be fine. But we've got some probably deer bone over here. Yeah, or no, that's my apple core from earlier.
Ontogeny.
It's already bleached white. The air is so dry here. You know, I just ate that like 2 hours ago and it's already turning white. Yeah. We had some bits of bone up there, but they're like white, bleached white. And they tend to be really lightweight. Modern bones they've got a brittleness to them, a really like lightweight to them. It's pretty obvious that they're not fossil bone. Although when people are still learning, they often get those confused. But yeah, when you've been out here for as long as I've been, digging up dinosaurs, you really learn the difference. Drink some more water. And frozen yak, I'll clean that up later too. I'm not going to leave that apple core there. Yeah, let's see. And Reaganation, thank you for the gift sub. I appreciate that, Reaganation. And Lordy wants to know, does the Cincinnati Museum sponsor the dig? Thank you, Kodali. Why do things go there? So it's kind of a long story. They have provided some funding to us, a little bit, but they don't have a ton of, they don't have a big budget to start with. But what they do have is the collections. So they've got, basically like a warehouse space with all of these drawers where they can safely hold these fossils. In order to be able to dig on public land, to get permits with the Bureau of Land Management, you have to be able to prove that those fossils are going to be in a museum. And that's not cheap. I mean, it could be relatively inexpensive to dig up fossils in the first place. Relatively inexpensive as far as science funding goes. What's often more expensive is repositing those fossils, putting them into the collections, and ensuring that they'll be there for hundreds of years into the future. So it's a commitment, and you need a good institution that can guarantee that those fossils will be safe there. And the museum in Cincinnati, they've been very good to us in providing us space for all these fossils. They said, yeah, we'll take those fossils, and we have the staff, we have the funding, we have the infrastructure to be able to hold those fossils in perpetuity for the people of the United States. Because as fossils from public land, they belong to all of us. They're part of the collective natural heritage of the U.S. So, yeah. Oh, we got more?
Of how difficult it can be
Yeah.
determining what's rock and what's bone.
Uh-huh.
So
Oh, yeah.
you can see here,
Tricky.
very tricky. You can see
Uh-huh.
very spongy and porous.
Uh-huh.
You also can see that here,
Mm-hmm.
but this is the bone.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
So, rock and bone. Yeah.
Got this nice big
Nice.
piece
And yeah, big old chunk right there. Where did this come from?
right here in this little
Right there?
pocket.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
just kinda
And we got
walking.
more. We got more right here too. Yeah.
Just taking a look at the skin, maybe if I could find any more pieces that
Yeah,
might
smart.
have broke off,
Smart.
collect it so we don't forget about it.
Yeah. Nice. Cool. Thanks, Nick. And it looks like we just got a raid. Excellent. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Welcome to wild and beautiful western Wyoming. Digging up dinosaurs here for the Cincinnati Museum Center. Exciting stuff. How was your stream? I hope it was really good. Welcome, Stony Jar, and everybody else. Yeah. And Ruby says, "Holy moly, I love dinosaurs." Well, I do too. You're in the right place. Welcome. And Rui the Big P doing some Elden Ring. I hope it was fun. I hope it wasn't too punishing. For once, I actually know the game that's referenced there. I don't know a lot about video games, but I know about Elden Ring a little bit. Yeah. Anyway, good to have you here. Let me know if you have any questions. Let's see, in Kodali, I don't really know anything about that. That sounds interesting. And Anime Girl Down says, "What's your favorite dinosaur?" Oh man, that's tough. That's tough to choose.
It's like picking a favorite child.
It really, that's what I always say. Yeah.
It's so hard.
It's like some paleontologists have a favorite dinosaur, and they're not shy about it, but some people are also, they have a favorite child and they're not shy about it too. Yeah, I don't know. The dinosaurs that are nearest and dearest to my heart are dinosaurs that I've worked with before. So, Triceratops is up there because I've dug up a lot of Triceratops over the years. Yeah, Dilophosaurus is one of the first dinosaurs I got to work with up close back during high school. Yeah, I got to work with the holotype of Dilophosaurus, which is pretty awesome. Yeah. But I would have to say my very favorite Spinosaurids too. I work on dinosaurs like Baryonyx, Suchomimus, and critters like that. Although I haven't actually gotten to work with the fossils directly. It's all been literature based. But yeah, one of my very, very favorite dinosaurs is Trirarchuncus. It's a little, probably insect-eating dinosaur from the very end of the age of dinosaurs. That's one of the ones that would have been wiped out by the asteroid 66 million years ago. And yeah, it's one of my favorites because I was on the crew that found some really important bits of it, and I'm one of the authors on the original descriptive paper. That's Fowler et al. 2020. Trirarchuncus, the last alvarezsaurid. So yeah, it's a cool critter. That's one of my favorites. But I don't know. I'm getting into duckbill dinosaurs now too. That we've got all this cool stuff. Yeah. And Mike, the tech lead, says it's kind of weird seeing that they actually get dug up from the ground. I mean, well, yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, the dinosaurs aren't, they don't just naturally appear in museums. There's a lot of work that goes into that. Holy cow. And it's work like this. So yeah, Nick is looking for more chunks of that skin or bone there.
Yeah, I'm seeing. Hopefully, we'll find some more skin impressions.
Nice.
Looks like as they eroded down.
Yeah. I know it's kind of like lousy just having to clear dirt all day, so it's nice that you guys can do this for a while too while I'm yammering on here. Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah, there we go. We've got some nice bone texture right there. This might look like rock, and it kind of is, but it used to be living tissue within this dinosaur. But you can see those striations, that kind of organic texture there from a living thing.
Show off how similar it is to.
Yeah.
rocks infused with iron.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, coloration like that can trick you. So this is a rock right here, and it's got some like, you know, iron stuff encrusted onto it. Must have been a lot of iron in the groundwater at the time in order to preserve it like that. But there's the bone. So the bone has kind of a regular texture to it, and it's kind of a woven texture like you see in modern bones today. Your own bones have got texture like that on the inside. Yeah. Nice, Nick. Thanks. Good spot.
No problem.
Yeah. Yeah. And Mike the Tech Lead says, this is like when you actually see the International Space Station fly overhead. You've read about it, seen videos, etc., but nothing beats seeing the real thing. That's not, thank you. That's a wonderful comparison. I'm flattered. That's when the first time I ever saw the ISS was, that's when I was in the field. That was my first summer in the field, 2011. And Lee Hall, who's a paleontologist at Museum of the Rockies now, he was working on that crew, and we were all about to go to bed. We just set up our tents and everything, and Lee says, he's like, everybody come over here, I want to tell you about something. And so we're like, okay. He's being a little cryptic about this, and we all gather around, and he starts giving this beautiful speech about the human spirit and about, you know, discovery, exploration, and how we were out in the field doing that. But there's also a group of people doing the same thing miles above us right now, and then he points, and there's this really, really bright dot moving steadily across the sky, the International Space Station. It was a magical moment, so I'll never forget that. But it's really cool to be part of something like this, where we're, in some small way, contributing to the progress of science, contributing to the sum total of human knowledge. It's a privilege to be able to do this, and it's a privilege to be able to share this with you. So I'm glad you're here for this. Yeah. Let me grab some more water. Here, take a look at the view while I do that. It's wild country out here. We're lucky to be here. Based on Air says, do you think there's dinosaurs in space too? Not at the moment, but there have been dinosaurs in space before. Not joking. During the space shuttle program, there were a few bits of dinosaur bone that were sent up into space, kind of as a gimmick, as a way to get people excited about science. So they're like, well, you know, we're doing space launches here and sending people up into space. You know, how can we make this even cooler? How can we really get people's attention? Dinosaurs. So that's what they did. It was a piece of baby Maiasaura bone and eggshell from Montana that went up with astronaut Lauren Acton, I think, in like 1987, I want to say. And then in 1988, I want to say it was on Space Shuttle Endeavour. You can check on this. There was a Coelophysis dinosaur skull that was sent up on a shuttle mission, just as like a fun gimmick, you know. Let's send a dinosaur into space. And they brought it safely back. Yeah. Didn't they find dinosaur tracks near the NASA building? In Texas? Maybe. I'm not sure. There's a lot of dinosaur fossil footprint trackways in Texas, for certain. Especially near places like Glen Rose, Texas. I don't know how close that is to Houston, though. I'd love to find out, because that would be a cool tidbit to know. Yeah. And Mechanism says, could the impact of the alleged asteroid blast a dinosaur so hard, at least a bit of the dinosaur blasted into space? Probably not, but I'd like to imagine it. Maybe. Kind of like at the end of the movie Don't Look Up. Spoiler alert. I don't know. You know, I'm not a physicist. I'm a paleontologist. I guess it is still a dinosaur question, but I don't know. I'd want to consult with, you know, maybe an astrophysicist to really give you a solid answer there. I don't know off the top of my head. And Waco has a bunch also. Is that True. Neat. We should check in with Doug because he lives in Waco. Yeah. And it's about 250 miles from Houston. Oh, okay, Lenina. So it's, not very far by Texas standards. Yeah. It's, it's by the corner store. Yeah. And do those small random fragments actually get identified, or are they just helpful to let you know that you're near a fossil bed? Usually the latter, Axeman. Great question, by the way. Like, those little fragments like that help us determine where these fossils are in the first place. They help us, discover the site. But sometimes, when you get really lucky, you can piece them together in the laboratory, and they click, they fit together. And, yeah, you can get sometimes a decent part of a bone together, which can be really helpful sometimes. But for the most part, the stuff on the surface has already been heavily weathered. It might not even fit together anymore. The edges might be too rounded if if it's really tumbled down the hill and it's been there for a few years. It depends. It depends. Yeah. And let's see. Greetings from Casper. Thank you, Claireber, for reposting this. From Kasona Shio. I do not know much about rock formation, so my question is, what happened in the area to cause so much breaking apart of what might have been a much larger rock formation? Just erosion. That's really typical for here. So you look out across this whole landscape, the same thing is happening everywhere. It's just natural erosion. So this area, during the time that these dinosaurs were walking around, this was at sea level. This is beachfront property at the time. Now we're at about 7,000 feet of elevation. So the whole Rocky Mountain region has been pushed up by, orogenic forces, by, mountain building. That's now 7,000 feet in the air. And what used to be flat is now kind of hilly or even mountainous in places. And when areas get pushed up like that, they erode. So you no longer have sediment accumulating in these basins and stuff like that. You don't have a swampy environment like in the Louisiana Delta today. That's what this area used to look like. This does not look like the Louisiana Delta today. It's been pushed up into the sky, 7,000 feet in the air. And the rock is now exposed and eroding away. That's how we find these fossils in the first place. Does that make sense? Is that a good explanation? Let me know if you've got any particular questions related to that. Yeah. I wonder if the property value is inverse to the rising... I don't know, science streams. Maybe. Yeah. Wyoming definitely doesn't have the most expensive real estate in the country. I can tell you that. And there you go, based on our... Yeah, we have that here, too, in Wyoming. 7,000 feet in the air. We've got fossil shells and stuff. Because, again... This is roughly what North America looked like at the time that these rocks were deposited. So again, we are right here in Wyoming. And so this is the Western Interior Seaway. Think of it like the Caribbean today, or maybe like the Mediterranean, kind of a shallow sea like this. When sea levels are really high, this area got inundated by seawater, and over millions of years, this expanded and contracted and expanded and contracted. And so this is not exactly accurate to these rocks right here, because the shoreline should be even further to the west, right along here. This was shoreline when these dinosaurs were walking around here. So, yeah, make another map 73 million years ago, but this is the closest one I could find. This is from Ron Blakey. Colorado Plateau Geosystems, if you want to look it up. Yeah. Cool stuff. So, back in some of the other sites, we've got, like freshwater clam fossils, unionid clams, and then in some of the rocks that are a little bit higher than this, we've got, so like if you see those kind of whitish rocks over there, kind of going at this angle, like that, that is the Lewis Shale, which is marine. Marine rocks. That was the bottom of the ocean at the time. Shallow ocean, like I just showed you on that chart. So after these dinosaurs were walking around doing their thing, after they lived and died, the sea levels rose even further. And this area was under the ocean then. And then later the seaways retreated when sea levels fell. So yeah, it's kind of a constant story throughout Earth history. Sea levels rise and fall, and it does interesting things to the ecosystems on land. Yeah, Earth is constantly changing all the time. And we wouldn't know that if we didn't study geology and if we didn't study fossils. It provides us this wonderful, wonderful context that we wouldn't otherwise have. And it lets us know when we should be worried about certain things. Like with climate change today, it is happening way, way, way faster than we see in the geological record. Anytime the climate has changed as fast as it's changing today, we've had mass extinctions. It's just really, really bad time to be a critter on planet Earth. So, again, we wouldn't have that perspective if it weren't for, the work of paleontologists and geologists and people studying Earth history. But yeah, try the North Sea. That's pretty shallow compared to other seas. Le Petit Prince, I suppose, yeah. Except when you think of the North Sea, you don't think of, environment. You don't. When I say the Caribbean, I guess the Caribbean, it's also warm, and you've got turtles swimming around. That's the kind of environment I'm trying to portray. But yeah, the North Sea is pretty shallow, though, isn't it? Yeah. And how shallow was the Western Interior Seaway? So it changed some RFA throughout its history. As sea levels rose and fell, you would have kind of variable changes. I think maybe a few hundred feet at the deepest. I really don't know. I don't want to give you a figure and then have it be incorrect. But we're talking shallow sea. Think about like the Caribbean or maybe the North Sea, but much, much warmer. And in that you had big mosasaurs swimming around, these big aquatic lizards up to like 13 meters, like just over 40 feet long for some of the very biggest ones. You had plesiosaurs, these four-flippered, oftentimes long-necked marine reptiles. You had sea turtles the size of a Volkswagen. You had all kinds of really cool critters swimming around in there. And yeah, we'll be talking more about those later this month when we do some chats with some of our crew members from Cincinnati, because they work on some of those critters. Yeah. Swimming hulks with nothing but teeth. They had other things apart from teeth. They had flippers. They had eyeballs. They had bones. But yeah, mosasaurs were pretty toothy. Yeah. But they're more than just teeth. And ever find any dinosaurs in the Nevada/Vegas area, Lonely CPU Gaming? Great question. I personally have not. Nevada only had its very first dinosaur described a couple years ago. Nevada Dromius is the name. And, yeah, I actually worked on some of those specimens when I was at Montana State University under Dave Verricchio. But yeah, they're pretty fragmentary. They're from the Valley of Fire area, if you know where that is. Which, I don't know how close that is to Vegas. My Nevada geography is not as solid as it should be, maybe. Yeah. Let's see. Scrolling. Nice. This is such a cool idea for a channel. Thank you. I appreciate you saying so, Sibley. Welcome. I've been doing this for 4 years now, talking about fossils and, when I can, going out to the field and showing you how this works. Got some more little bits of... Oh no, those are not bits of bone. We've got some lichen on here. These are not bone either. These are just like ironstone crud. We're on the other side and we start seeing some actual bone. Right here. I showed you these earlier. Here's another one. This is maybe the end of well, it's been a little bit eroded. It could have been the end of a limb bone. It still feels pretty solid right here, kind of smooth. Yeah, this could be a bit of limb bone, or it could be, that's probably what it is. So a cross section of limb bone, and you can see that trabecular bone texture in there. Got more bone right here, and more skin right here. Another lovely skin impression. It looks like we've got, this might actually be a positive, yeah. It's not concave, it's convex. So more of this duckbill dinosaur skin right here. Really lovely. How cool is that? 73 million years old, give or take a few. Yeah. And Bibinoff says, is that claystone? So this is sandstone. Really consolidated, blocky, really hard channel sandstone. So sandstone like this is indicative of the bottom of a river. Sandy river bottom. You'd have all kinds of critters living and dying nearby, and their remains would sometimes get washed into the river and then be deposited like this. So we know we've got a duckbill dinosaur here, because we have a duckbill dinosaur foot claw right there. And then we know we've got bits of a turtle in here too. I forget where that is, but we were looking at it earlier. But the other stuff apart from the dinosaurs is, of course, super important for understanding what this ecosystem was like, what kind of critters lived here, all that good stuff. Finding extinct mammals? Not yet, Presbydard. Hopefully we will. That would be super cool. They tend not to come from this kind of rock, though. We tend to find them at what we call microsites. Because mammals at the time were very small. There were no mammals during the whole age of dinosaurs that were bigger than, like, I don't know, bigger than a large loaf of bread, maybe. The very largest mammals were like, maybe like 40 pounds, maybe. The size of like a large badger, perhaps. I don't know. Maybe some got a little bit bigger than that. But mammals, almost universally during the Mesozoic, during the age of dinosaurs, were teeny, tiny little guys. Little mouse or shrew-like rodent-like animals. Rodents hadn't evolved yet, but all the mammals basically looked kind of superficially like rodents back then. Most of them looked superficially like rodents. There's mammal people who are probably tearing their hair out, going, "No, we had gliding mammals and, you know, aquatic mammals," but it's like, yeah, they still mostly look pretty mousy. Even if there are idea about their morphological diversity, even if we've got, you know, better understanding of that. Anyway, we mostly, because mammals were so small, we generally find them in what we call microfossil deposits. So like in an ancient stream or river, you would get, you know, critters living and dying, and then, you know, their bones and shells and teeth and stuff like that would just kind of accumulate on like sandbars, you know, stuff like that. And so you just get this lovely sample platter of like, oh, here's a fish tooth, here's a fish scale, here's a salamander vertebra, here's a mammal jaw if you're super lucky. But mammals don't seem to have been common during this time. They kind of had a bit part in this environment. Mammals were not, they weren't big players until after the asteroid hit. That was their lucky break. And if it hadn't been for that, we certainly wouldn't be here today. We've got no reason to think that mammals would have ever really taken off, so to speak, if it hadn't been for that asteroid. Yeah, how do you tell about the paleoclimatology? Bibinoff asks. That's a great question. Part of it is the plants that we find. So at another site called Turtle Hill over there, hopefully I can show you in a few days, we've got some fossil leaves. And fossil leaves are tremendously important for being able to tell what this ancient environment was like and what the climate was like at the time. So leaves today, if you have plants that have like a pointy drip tip on the end of the leaf, well, a drip tip is for, you know, shedding water. That tells you that this would have been a wet environment. There would have been a lot of precipitation, a lot of rainfall. If you find a lot of ferns and stuff like that, that implies that it's a little bit warmer and wetter than, certainly than it is today in Wyoming. Stuff like that. The types of plants that you find tell you what the climate was like at the time. And so we're really lucky that we've got some nice plant fossils from just just a few ridges over there. Yeah. Out of all the places you visited, what's your absolute favorite place to dig? It would either be the Hell Creek Formation in Montana, the very end of the Age of Dinosaurs, maybe. But I don't know, I'm going to say Utah, near Moab, Utah, where I'm going to be later in the summer. I feel at home there. You know, it's a home away from home. It's almost relaxing to work out there. We've got a small crew, good friends with everybody, kind of a more or less relaxed pace to the work, and the sites are just a short walk from camp, and we've got a refrigerator and a freezer that run on propane. It's luxurious. You'll see it later in the summer. I'm excited to show you. Oh, and it's super scientifically important. That's the most vital thing. It's from the very, very, very beginning of the Cretaceous period. Probably the oldest Cretaceous dinosaurs in North America, if not in the world, are right there at that particular locality. And we're going to be digging some more of those up this summer. Ones that will be a new genus or a new species. We've got confirmation of that now from an iguanodontian expert. The iguanodontian we're digging up, it's new. Brand new. Never been found before. So it's exciting stuff. We suspected before that was the case. Now we have confirmation from an iguanodontian expert. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Yeah. And love that new dinosaur smell. There you go, Gene Wen. Yeah. And welcome. Sorry, I gotta... There we go. Clean this off so I can see properly. Take the dust off the screen. Somebody said this is the first time I've seen anything like this. Haikisho says, popped up in my recommendations too. Never seen anything like it? Well, welcome to Paleontologizing. Let me do a quick station break and introduce myself. If it's your first time here, it sounds like it's yours, Haikisho. Welcome to Paleontologizing. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. As you could probably guess, a paleontologist is a scientist who studies fossils. I work on dinosaur fossils in particular, and that's what we're digging up right here. We've got a crew of about 18 people right now, spread out across a few different dig sites.
Ontogeny.
And right now we, here at this site, are digging up a duckbill dinosaur. It's a big plant-eating, hoofed, beaky, duck-billed ornithischian dinosaur here. And so we've got these big blocks of sandstone. I marked this one with an X because we've got bone in it right here, just exposed on the surface. So these blocks have weathered away and tumbled down from up there. And Doug is up there, Nick is up there, James is up there, and they're working on on clearing away some of the overburden, the soil and crud above those rocks. Because if we're lucky, all these bones sticking out of these blocks indicate that there's more bones still in the ground up there. And hopefully those will be a little bit better preserved, and we might even get a skull, which would be jackpot. So, yeah. Welcome. The whole point of these live broadcasts is for you to be able to ask questions and just kind of see how this works. You know? I'm a big believer in showing rather than just telling. And this is my way of doing that. I'm really lucky that we can broadcast from here. I've got a satellite dish up there. So, broadcasting to you live via satellite from beautiful, wild, woolly, windy, western Wyoming. Out in the middle of nowhere. A skull would be mental. Agreed, Ended. Agreed. Portion of a cat jaw on a dig with a skull. Very cool imagination. Very cool. Ever find dinosaurs in Alaska? I personally have not. I've never been to Alaska, but we do have dinosaur fossils from Alaska. From the Prince Creek Formation, way up north there, on the north slope of Alaska. There's a lot of great dinosaur fossils. Dinosaurs lived all over the place on planet Earth. All 7 continents. We have dinosaurs from Antarctica. Pretty cool to think about. Do you ever have to worry about weirdos hunting humans? A little bit, Synaptic Live, I suppose. You know, we're out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. You know, you got to be aware of your surroundings out here. People have guns and stuff. Do you interact and inform the First Nations in your area with your digs? See, Zerkley? Yes. Yeah. We're going to get a visit from some of the tribes sometime in the next few weeks, we hope. And to be able to kind of talk with them about this and just celebrate this, this really cool material. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, shoot. Which tribe? I think Northern Shoshone and, shoot. I forget. I like half overheard a conversation the other day between some of the crew members. But yeah, that'll be cool. I don't think I'll be streaming that. But, yeah, that's going to be neat. That's going to be really neat. And Rila Rolo, I'm happy to be in the field again. Thanks for stopping by and saying hello. Glad you can watch. Yeah. And Sherlock Homeboy says, hello, this is so cool, and I'm glad I stumbled onto this. How do you determine where to dig? Well, we do what we call prospecting. Let's pull up the prospecting command again, if you don't mind, moderators. But basically, first, in order to determine the general area, the region in which to dig, you have to figure out what kind of fossils you're interested in. Are you looking for, I don't know, the earliest signs of life on Earth? You got to find rocks that are like close to 4 billion years old. If you're looking for dinosaurs, there's a certain age of rocks that you look at between about 235 and 66 million years ago. You got to find rocks that were formed at that time. Here, we're interested in dinosaurs that are about 73 million years old. So we've come here to the Almond Formation in western Wyoming, near the town of Green River. And after you do that, you look at your geological maps. You find exactly where those age of rocks are exposed, like where they form the bedrock. And then you look at your satellite images, Google Earth, stuff like that, to see where this rock is exposed on the surface. You know, we don't just go dig in a random hole somewhere. We have to find this kind of nice deserty territory with all of this exposed rock. And then after we've got that, and after you've got permission to dig in areas, you got your permits together, or if you're digging on private land, you have, permission from the private landowner. Then we do what we call prospecting. So you walk along and you look for any sign of bone, like this. And well. I did not plan that. A little chunk of bone right here. So this is different from the surrounding rock. It's got that nice organic texture. You see those pits in it like that? Yeah, that is like interior bone texture. And we have some bone surface right here too. And it's not surprising that we'd find that right there, because there's a big honking chunk of bone right here in the sandstone. From this big duckbill dinosaur. Yeah. And so Ethan Cowgill, who is our expedition leader, he and some other folks discovered this particular site about 3 years ago. And we finally got permission to actually dig here. And so that's what we're doing. Here among these big sandstone boulders, we've got chunks of duckbill dinosaur bones spilling out. And it is some exciting stuff.
Ontogeny.
Some of it is very well preserved. We've even got skin. I'll show you that. Yeah. I did not plan that. No, that's the thing, is that like you'll find this stuff around here. We tried to scoop up most of the chunks of bone earlier, but we got more bone here. Shoot. Yeah. More bony bone. So, I'll show you the difference. This is a rock right here. Sandstone, very blocky. It's difficult to... I've been doing this for so many years that it's tough to like put it into words how you tell what's rock and what's bone. Normally I say, well, you can tell it's bone because of how it is. You just get well practiced after a while. But here's bone. You got that nice bony texture there, almost like a sponge. all the bone cells, the trabeculae inside the bone. And then this might actually just be rock that's concreted onto the surface, or this could be bone surface, right? I don't know. But here is definitely bone under there. Yeah. So that's how we find these sites in the first place. You walk along and you just pick up things that look interesting, and then you look for bone texture. And then you follow those bits of eroded bone up to where they're coming out, and then you dig in there, which is what fellas are doing up there right now. Trying to find the actual bone-bearing horizon. Let's see. And Dinodex, thank you for the prime. I appreciate that. Sounds like you're in the right place with a username like that. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Yeah. So you look at regular rock, it's not as porous as fossilized bone, yeah? I guess I can show you a mechanism for the sake of, everybody watching at home. You can actually, stick it to your tongue. Try to stick it to your tongue, and if it falls off, generally speaking, that's what rock does. Generally speaking, fossil bone sticks to your tongue. I'll show you. Here, take a bit of... I'll find a smaller one so it's not just gravity pulling it down. That one actually feels a little porous. Let's try that. Yeah. So, this is just rock right here. I'll stick this to my tongue. Should fall off. Watch. Yeah. Now, try that with a little bit of bone. And I'll stand somewhere where I know I can find it in case it does fall off. Because this is more of a gimmick. This is not actually how we test whether it's rock or bone, but it usually works. Here, watch. Well, it stuck for longer, but it's not perfect. If you're a paleontologist and you can't tell rock from bone, then you got a problem. Just by looking at it. But yeah, after a while you just develop a feel for this sort of thing. And it's pretty unmistakable. Yeah. It did stick for a little bit. There you go, Ice Allen, yeah. But it is a cool way for amateurs to check. That's the thing, is that if we have visitors to a site, or donors, people coming through, maybe thinking about giving us money, that's often a parlor trick that we'll do. Parlor trick. It's a neat little demonstration that we can do. That's, it really sticks with people. They remember it. I went to this dig site and they made me stick a piece of fossil bone on my tongue and it stuck to it. People remember that. It's a way to involve a visitor. That they won't forget it. They'll tell their friends and their family. It sticks with. There you go, science streams. Yeah. And it's one of those things that people can relate to in a way that the actual technical expertise doesn't connect with. Exactly, Racodactylus, yeah. Go lick rocks is also a great schoolyard insult. There you go, Sibley, sure. Or it's just something that geologists do too. We do actually put rocks in our mouths, but not to tell if they're rock or bone, but to kind of feel out the consistency of the rock. If we've got a mudstone, for instance, geologists and paleontologists do that. If you're working with mudstones, you might take a little chunk, pop it into your mouth, you chew it a little bit, and you get this good sense of the texture, the consistency. Is it particularly gritty? Is it smooth? It gives you a good sense of the grain size and everything else, and that's important. So professional geologists and paleontologists will do that a lot. In fact, we'll probably do that at this site. Well, it's not a mudstone, it's a sand. But if it were a mudstone, maybe at the Ceratopsian site, when we're actually writing up a lithological description of that site, we'll be chewing some of those rocks a little bit. Yeah. Lordy says, gross, I'm not putting dirt in my mouth. Lordy, it's clean dirt, It's out here. This is not like dirt that you find, in downtown New York City or anything. It's, it's just out here. It's not going to hurt you. And we end up eating a lot of dirt anyway, because it tends to blow into our food when we eat dinner. So, comes with the territory. Maybe that's not your favorite thing, Lordy, but, you know, if you want to be if anybody wants to be a field paleontologist, you know, don't be afraid to ingest a little bit of grit. Yeah, it's not dirt. Yeah, it's not dirty dirt. Divinorium, you're right. Yeah. And that is why I always carry water and chapstick. All that rock licking dries out the mouth. And just being out here in such a dry... This is, you know, it's desert. It's not, you know, Sahara Desert. It's not American Southwest Desert with saguaro cactus and everything. But it's, you know, high desert. We're 7,000 feet in the air. There's not much precipitation here over the course of the year. It's dry and arid country. It's high desert. Yeah. But yeah. And Commander Argo says, I can remember being a kid in Columbia, Missouri, and walking along a creek bed and finding a crinoid fossil. Very cool. Awesome. Yeah. There's fossils all over the place if you know where to look. If you're in an environment that has sedimentary rock. I guess good luck in places like Hawaii, where everything is igneous. Although I think some fish fossils have been found in Hawaii, on rare occasions, in rare sedimentary rocks. But yeah, the folks from Cincinnati, when we talk to them, they'll be telling you a little bit about all of the fossils that are throughout the city of Cincinnati. Like, they just take them for granted. People growing up in Cincinnati are like, oh yeah, you know, I found some fossils. Yeah. But, yeah, I would have thought that was super cool as a kid. I found my first fossils when I was like 10 years old, and yeah, it was pretty special. It was in a local park with some exposed sandstone, probably Briones Formation or something like that. Probably like Pliocene in age. I should consult some geological maps and find out. But it's a special thing to find a fossil where you're not expecting it. And graptolites and fish and rocks on the Jurassic Coast. Yeah, you have a ton of awesome fossils on the Jurassic Coast. Gold Amur leopard. What a great name, by the way. Yeah, love to visit someday. I've never been up to, or down to Dorset or anywhere in Europe. Maybe someday. Yeah. Oh, and I missed an interesting question. Where was that? Shoot. Let me scroll up. Ever find human bones randomly when looking for dinosaurs? No. We found deer bones and stuff, but that's on the surface. And they look completely different. They feel completely different. They're a totally different weight and color and everything else. When we find dinosaur bones, they're coming out of the rock. If we found human remains, it would be in soil, like above the rock, basically. When we find dinosaurs, they're in the bedrock. I'll show you. Yeah. And Osteodontoceratic collected a fair amount of petrified wood from the local stream when I was a kid. Very cool. That's awesome. I think it's really important for people, especially young people, to be able to have experiences like that, to be able to kind of connect with the fossil record in that way, and to be able to find things and go, oh wow, like that's... I think it gives people perspective that's really important. Anyway, here's one of those bones that we have right here. I suspect it's probably like a fibula, but we'll see. Doesn't look like a rib. It's too thick, and the cross section seems to be wrong for a rib. So I think it's a fibula, one of the shin bones, the little shin bone. Yeah. When you were in Dorset last week, very cool. Along the Jurassic, that's awesome. I heard they had a big landslide recently. Ibo Nikana, yeah. Awesome. I hope you had a good time there. I've always wanted to go to Dorset, to Lyme Regis in particular. We did a great big stream for the birthday of Mary Anning, the mother of paleontology. We did that on her birthday back in May 21st, I think. Check out the VOD if you want to see that. It's a ton of fun. And holy cow, we've got 1,600 people watching. Let me show you some of the cooler stuff again. And we did, yeah, Ethan mapped this the other day, Mechanism. Did a photogrammetric model. basically scan the whole thing into his phone. And yeah, we'll be able to use those files, even 3D print the site in miniature if we want to. This right here is the hoof bone of a duckbill dinosaur. This is one of the foot claws. Here, I'll get the sheet and I'll show you. That we've got so many people watching. And Bebop Becca says, "Where's Nick?" It's right up there. Yeah. We'll be talking to Nick more in a little bit. Yeah. Here. There we go. So, we don't yet know what kind of duckbill dinosaur this is. It's probably going to be a new species or a new genus even. Given the age of the rocks, we don't have any duckbill dinosaurs that are named from this particular time and place, so there's a very high likelihood this critter is going to be new. But this is, I think, Griposaurus right here. A well-known duckbill dinosaur from Montana and from Utah, Griposaurus monumentensis. Might be from New Mexico too, I forget. But anyway, this is the general kind of animal we're looking at. This bone right here is what we call a pedal ungual. Ungual, U-N-G-U-A-L. It's just a toe claw. Pedal ungual. So that's one of these right here, right at the end of the toe. This is the bony core, and then the claw would have like a keratinous sheath, like a horny coating over the surface, like a rhino's horn, like a cat's claw, like your fingernails over the surface of this. So part of this is not exposed. Part of it is still covered up by matrix right here, by some of the sandstone. You see this prong going this way. There's another one just like that underneath the rock. And so this is where it attaches to the toe bone right here, and then this is the end. So there would be a sheath of keratin over the surface. The surface of the bone is right here, nice and kind of smooth, and then it's been eroded away right here so you can see the interior texture with all of that lovely trabecular kind of architecture in there. Really nice. So this is our smoking gun. This is how we know that this is a duckbill dinosaur. Is because of that very distinctive shape to that right here. No other dinosaur really has a hoof that looks like that. Ceratopsian foot claws look different. Horned dinosaurs like this guy here, they've got different looking hoof claws, hoof bones, whatever you want to call them. Different from our duckbill dinosaur. And then we've got skin right here too. Yeah, that is the impression of the skin right there, this nice pebbly texture. And we found this on a bunch of different duckbill dinosaurs. I say we, I mean other paleontologists have found this same texture on duckbill dinosaurs in the past. So it's consistent with what we know. Really cool, 73 million years old. We can still feel its skin right here. Yeah. Anywho, yeah, isn't that cool, Prescos? Yeah, welcome. So great to have everybody here. We've got a pretty awesome viewership right now. How's everybody doing? Yeah. And how is it determined what a full skeleton would look like? Oh wait, where was that question? Scrolling. Yeah. So we don't know what the full skeleton of this animal looked like yet, because we haven't found it. But we can look at close relatives. So we know this is a hadrosaur, a duckbill dinosaur. And so we can look at ones that we do have whole skeletons of, like Griposaurus here. We can kind of use this as a guide for when we're doing our excavation. Like we can look at these different bones right here. We've got, say, a big limb bone right here. We know what the bones of this family of dinosaurs look like in general. So we can try and make determinations. Is this a femur? Is this a tibia? Is this a fibula? Which bone is this that's big and thick like that? And then, in knowing that, and figuring that out, we can kind of determine how to dig this thing up. So like this big block right here is too big and heavy to move by hand. We're going to have to cut this thing up with rock saws. But if we know the shape of the tibia, the tibia should be plunging down just like that, or we can cut to the side without cutting through the bone. That's kind of generally the idea. Does that make sense? Yeah. And Squidurdle, thank you for being here. Hello to you too. How you doing? Do we just get a raid or just a bunch of new people showing up? It's great to have everybody here. Again, not to repeat myself too much, but this is a live broadcast. Let me introduce myself for the new folks just coming in here. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. So paleontologists are fossil scientists. We study fossils. I study dinosaur fossils in particular, hence dinosaur paleontologist. And that's what we're digging up here. We've got a duckbill dinosaur that stands a very high likelihood of being a new genus or a new species. And we've got the rest of the crew up there. We've got Nick, we've got James, we've got Doug, and yeah, they're up here exposing some more of this rock. Hopefully we've got more of this animal coming out in there. Nice job, guys. I know it's a little tedious to do this. We're kind of waiting on a rock saw so that we can get this stuff opened up, and yeah, but nice. It's like a dance floor up here. Yeah.
Yeah, we got a nice big surface area.
Yeah.
Kind of have it with some 90 degrees in there so we know what we're looking at.
Smart. Yeah.
And,
Guys are doing good work.
if I would have done better, I would have brought the big brooms
Uh-huh.
to help out, so maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll get some whisk brooms for sure. And then it might even be nice to get like a push broom for this site if we
Yeah.
end up going to Walmart.
I think they're in the tent, in the gear tent.
Oh, we've got push brooms?
I think so.
Nice. Okay. Beautiful. Yeah, because that'll be perfect for this particular spot.
Yeah, it'll be much easier than using a
Yeah.
paintbrush.
Yeah. At least we've got that big broad one though. Normally I've just got the little 2-inch paint brushes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the brush I use for quarrying.
Nice. That one's yours?
Yeah, because not
Nice.
only is it big, but the soft bristles mean you can brush off a site without damaging the fossils.
Exactly. You can go right to the surface of the bone without risk of damage. Yeah, nice. Yeah, and we've got bone surface right here. So we know that there's at least some bone going into the rock here. So being able to have this this morning, everybody, this is all covered by dirt and crud. These guys have done a great job clearing this away so we can see the surface of the rock, get a good idea of what's going on with that rock surface. And then, yeah, eventually we might cut into it with the rock saw or try and pull it apart by other means. See how much of this animal we can get out. But cross your fingers. If we're super, super lucky, there'll be a skull in here. It's not a high likelihood, but it's a possibility. And we've had some pretty good luck here in the Almond Formation in previous years. We already got a good duckbill dinosaur skull out last summer. Hopefully we have another one in here. That would be pretty stellar. Yeah. Yeah, cool. And we've got, look, more bone right there, too. Lots of bone. Holy cow, yeah. Nice to be able to see it from this angle. So all of this kind of purplish stuff with that texture, that is bone in there. Yeah. So I know this might not look super, I don't know, cinematic, exciting, yeah. Slowly brushing. You know, it's not like in Jurassic Park where there's just a beautiful whole Deinonychus skeleton laid out there like a sculpture. It doesn't work like that in real life. This is how it works.
Yeah, I tell people, when people ask me what the most inaccurate part of Jurassic Park is, I tell them the dig scene.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, it takes a lot more work than that, and it's, yeah, a lot more practice to be able to, like we've been talking about, tell the rock from the bone, that kind of thing. But, yeah, with any luck, we'll be able to get some really decent bones out of here, and they'll get prepped in the lab so they look like, you know, beautiful, clean bones, and get this thing studied and published and have a new dinosaur. Introduce it to the world. So, yeah. Cool. How's Edie doing? Oh, she looks a little tired right now. Yeah. Love her little jacket. Nice. How many dig seasons has she done with you so far?
This is her fifth.
Her fifth. Wow. She's an old pro then. Yeah.
He
Nice.
has more experience than I do.
Nice. I need to get some more water. I swallowed a bug or something this morning when I was running up to the ceratopsian site. My throat's been scratchy all day after that. So, yeah. And is this your highest viewership? Asks La Vaca Loca TTV. No, my highest viewership would have been last Wednesday. It was on the front page with Utah State paleontologist Jim Kirkland looking at the Utah Raptor block. That was, we had like 10,000 viewers. That was astonishing. Yeah. And a bug, yeah, science stream, sorry. Wasn't on purpose. It's not very vegetarian of me to be swallowing animals whole, even small ones. But, yeah. It does happen. That's one of the joys of fieldwork. Sometimes you ingest some bugs. Yeah. And last week is how I found you. Nice, Deathsaurus. Nice. Well, it's great to have you here. Yeah. You didn't ID the bug for Balint? It might be a little tricky now. It's been ingested. Oh, boy. Yeah, let me drink some more water. Here, take a look at the beautiful scenery while I do. Nice. How are our alerts doing, by the way? I can't see. My only view into the stream right now is what you're saying here in the chat. So I hope the alerts aren't too obtrusive or anything for new follows and subscriptions and stuff like that. And Rocket Sage says, this is epic. Hey, Sage, how are you doing? Everybody, Rocket Sage is a real-life geologist who streams here on Twitch, and she is super awesome. Make sure you follow her right now. Sage knows, well, she's a geologist. She knows so much more about rocks than I do. Paleontology, fossil science, is kind of a weird mixture of geology and biology, because we're studying the preserved remains, geology, of ancient living things, biology. So we've got to know a fair amount of geology to be able to do this work properly, but I'm not like, you know, a purebred geologist like Sage is. She could tell you a lot more about, probably about the lithology here than I could. But Sage, it's great to have you here. We're out here in western Wyoming, near the town of Green River, in the Late Cretaceous Almond Formation. Very, very understudied geological formation. There are no dinosaurs that have been described in this particular formation, so anything that we find here is probably going to be new, including this duckbill dinosaur that we're digging up out of this lovely channel sand here. We've got these big sandstone blocks, and then we've got bits of dinosaur coming out. Is it where the buffalo roamed? They used to, Barian, absolutely. Now it's mostly cows, unfortunately. But yeah. And Bieler Og Engler, hello to you too. Hello from Norway, hello from Wyoming. Good to have you here. And welcome raiders. Who did we get a raid from? Man. 97 raiders from Tom Nicholas. Welcome Tom Nicholas and raiders. How you all doing? Welcome to Paleontologizing. Here, I keep showing some of the same bones, but we've got duckbill dinosaur bones poking out right here from these big sandstone blocks, and even some preserved skin right here. And there's more up there too. I'll show you. Yeah. Cool stuff. And what would a duck-billed hadrosaur's diet have been? Plants. These are plant-eating animals. They probably ate a lot of primitive flowering plants. We've got gut contents from them that show that they ate conifers, like pine needles and stuff like that, but whether or not that's part of their normal diet, whether that's something one of them ate right before it died, you know, it's kind of hard to say. But yeah, here's how we can tell this is a duckbill dinosaur is we've got this lovely hoof right here. So this should be symmetrical. Rock is covering up this part of it, but there should be another prong just like this right here. This is one of the hindfoot unguals, a pedal ungule. So like the hoof bone and then it would have keratin over the surface, kind of like your fingernails. And then we've got more skin up here too. But this is a negative impression, so it's an impression of the skin. Left right there. There must have been actual skin here that just got eroded away. But yeah, pretty cool. So, as Rocket Sage could tell you, I'm sure, this is probably a channel sandstone. So, really highly consolidated sand, really blocky, really tough. From the probably the bottom of an ancient river. I say river rather than like creek or something like that because this is a lot of sediment that was deposited here. Probably would have been a pretty high volume river, but probably pretty slow. We're not seeing big clasts in it. We're not seeing big chunks of rock. It's not a conglomerate. It's not a high energy environment. A kind of a slow, sandy, maybe kind of deep river here. I don't know if it'd be deep. But yeah, it's cool. We can actually kind of tell the for lack of a better term, the energy level of flowing water back then by how big the particles are. The larger the particles, the more force you need to carry them because they're heavier. With a really fine sand like this, would have been very low energy environment, very gentle flowing river. Think like Mississippi Delta. Like the Mississippi down there in Louisiana. Yeah. Dennis Dave says, what about a tsunami? That's different kinds of rocks you find in a tsunami. We'll talk to Jim Kirkland about that later in the summer. Because he's worked some tsunami deposits along the Brazos River in Texas. That's where he blew out one of his knees. He'll tell you the story. Yeah, like a big meandering stream? Yeah, Samarfe, yeah. Big stream. Lots and lots of sediment. Yeah. Let me see if I've got another visual aid. Let's talk about the time here. There we go. Lovely diagram from the U.S. Geological Survey. So yeah, I love that this is just to kind of give you some perspective as to where we are in time. So the formation of the Earth, about 4.54 billion years ago, in there. And then all the way up until the present. That's where we are, you and me, in Twitch.tv right there, in the Holocene epoch of the Quaternary period within the Cenozoic era, the age of the mammals. That goes back to here. 66 million years ago is when that asteroid hit that wiped out the dinosaurs, except for a handful of birds. And then 73 million years ago is when these rocks were formed. About 73. Hopefully we'll be able to get a nice ash sample so we can get a proper numeric date. We'll see. But we're from the late Cretaceous here, so about right there. So in the grand scheme of things, over the course of the entire history of life on Earth, this is pretty recent stuff. But humans, for example, just to give you some perspective, evolved, let's see, about here. And that's even kind of, this is not perfectly to scale. But yeah. Should give you some sense. We're from late in the age of dinosaurs here. Late Cretaceous period. Dinosaurs first evolved here back in the Triassic. So Triassic, Jurassic, Cretaceous. We're right here in the late Cretaceous here. So a little bit before some of your most famous dinosaurs like T-Rex and Triceratops, Pachycephalosaurus. They're all from the very end of the Cretaceous. Up till 66 million years ago when they get wiped out by the asteroid. This is a little bit before that. So 73 million years ago. It's still pretty late in the age of dinosaurs. Yeah. Why do I not have this as a poster? Oh, you look it up, Mechanism. It's cool. And there's another side to this too. Another diagram. If you search like geological time spiral, this one is actually to scale, which is really nice. Yeah, back to the beginning of time, or beginning of Earth, formation of the Earth. All the way around here. So the Cretaceous is green, we're almost at the end of the Cretaceous right there. And then we are right here in this, like, yellow there. Yeah. So hominins is the group of primates that includes humans. They only evolved 2 million years ago. And then the non-avian dinosaurs went extinct 66 million years ago. There you go, 66. Right there, so that's why there's white right here. It's because they stopped. All we've got from dinosaurs are birds today. Yeah. Anyway, I brought a lot of these. I laminated a bunch of these sheets, printed them out, because I wanted to be able to show you rather than just telling you. That's the whole point of doing fieldwork like this and streaming it, is to be able to take you along for the ride, show you what this is like. And sometimes there's concepts I have to explain, and it's really nice if I can have a visual aid for that. Yeah. And Galara Dragon says it's wild to think that there were already 100 million years worth of dinosaur fossils already in existence while there were still living dinosaurs. Oh yeah, yeah. So dinosaurs first evolved about 235, maybe 240 million years ago. And yeah. So they'd been around for like 176 million years, something like that. Almost 180 million years dinosaurs lived on Earth before the asteroid hit. And we still have dinosaurs today. We just call them birds. Birds are part of the theropod dinosaur lineage. The theropod clade right there. So yeah, birds right here are part of this group of two-legged, meat-eating dinosaurs, many of which had feathers, like Velociraptor right there. And they are all dinosaurs. So dinosaurs start right there. Everything that evolves from this ancestor is a dinosaur. Yeah. So dinosaurs didn't go completely extinct. There were a few species of bird that survived when the asteroid hit 66 million years ago. And they've diversified into the over 9,000 species of birds that we have today. Birds outnumber mammal species like 2 to 1. So you could say that we're still living in the age of dinosaurs because we have more dinosaur species than mammals alive today. But mammals are the dominant terrestrial organisms on Earth. And so, age of mammals, you know. Yeah. And Lockmax says, how did the birds survive if the Earth turned into molten lava land? The Earth didn't get turned into molten lava land. Parts of it did, but for the most part, it wasn't like Earth's crust melting that caused the extinction. It was the asteroid hitting and then just throwing up this tremendous cloud of dust and soot from forest fires, global forest fires and stuff like that, blocked out the sun, killed off most of the plants, and then the plant eaters didn't have much to eat. They died. And then the meat eaters who ate the plant eaters, you know the story. Most of the birds also went extinct. It's like the majority, vast majority, maybe like 95% of bird species that were alive at the time also died out during, because of that asteroid impact. And the few bird species that managed to survive evolved into all the birds that we have today. So there's a huge, what we call like a genetic bottleneck, an evolutionary bottleneck there, where almost all the birds died out except for just a few. So it really narrowed into like a bottleneck, and then they diversified again in the aftermath. Thank you, Reagan Nation, for those gift subs. I really appreciate that. That is wonderful. Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. Ants decided to invent agriculture because of this. They may have done that before, Samarfe. Yeah, I don't know. Belent would know when ants actually started farming, doing their thing. Yeah. How many mammal species survived the KPG impact? Great question, Soganbar. Not very many. It's like 90% of all the mammal species also died out at that time. So they had a big bottleneck as well. And it was from those few surviving mammal species that all of the mammals today evolved. It's cool to think about, you know? You get these, like, inflection points in Earth history where, like, some cataclysm occurs and, like, almost everybody dies, and then the survivors inherit the Earth afterward. So the slate almost gets wiped clean. And the study of the fossil record is, in many ways, the study of these revolutions that happen. You know, not revolution like turning, but revolution like revolution. The end of an old order, and then almost everybody dies, and the survivors kind of inherit the Earth. That's again and again that happens in Earth history, and we're kind of going through something like that right now because of us. Degrading Earth's ecosystems, changing the climate. Earth's going to look very different in the future unless we change things around right now. Unless we change what we're doing. But yeah. Putting the evolution in revolution. There you go, Prescos. Yeah. Like in a falling elevator. There you go, Oscar too. Well, it wasn't so much the impact that. It wasn't the direct impact of the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs and the mosasaurs and the plesiosaurs and the ammonites and everybody else. It was the aftermath of that. All of that dust and soot in the air, the smoke from these global wildfires that were ignited by the asteroid impact. All of that stuff it changed Earth's climate very rapidly and briefly, but very rapidly and very dramatically. In order to be able to just, change the course of life on Earth like that. It may have been as many as 80% of species on Earth died out at that time. And the oceans, too. Collapse of the food web. Most of the phytoplankton died. The sun got blocked out, so the phytoplankton that they photosynthesize, like plants, phytoplankton, they're the base of the food chain. If they die, then the zooplankton who ate them die. And then the little fishes that eat the zooplankton, they die. And then the bigger fishes die. And then the plesiosaurs and the mosasaurs and the ammonites. Everybody gets wiped out. It's only a few species that manage to survive. And those are mostly species that were small, they didn't need a lot of food, and they could kind of just eat whatever dead stuff is around. They weren't picky. Those are the critters that survived, both in the oceans and on land. The critters that survived were small animals that generally lived underground in burrows, or they had a kind of generalist diet. They could eat seeds that didn't get totally burned in the fires. It's basically just all the small, unimportant guys, the guys that survived. That's the story at the end of the Cretaceous. Dinosaurs, they were too big. They were too bad. They were too bold. They were too important. Yeah. Asteroid for highest kill streak. There you go, Divinorium. Yeah. Well, not quite highest. The Permian extinction at the end of the Permian. One of the extinction events that kind of paves the way for the dinosaurs. The dinosaurs take over after. That was bigger. It was 90% of species on Earth. But that one took millions of years. That was methane being released in the atmosphere and carbon being released caused massive global warming and acidification of the oceans. That was a slow process. It took millions of years. That was a slow, painful death for most of life on Earth. We're kind of doing that right now. We're speed running it, though, with anthropogenic climate change. It's not good, folks. But anyway, it took millions of years at the end of the Permian for that, what they call the Great Dying, when 90% of life died out before the dinosaurs. The extinction of the dinosaurs was maybe a few years, maybe a few decades. I don't know. I don't know what the consensus is on the actual time frame, but it was geologically, it was the blink of an eye, instantaneous, geologically speaking. Super, super, super rapid. Where you can go out into those rocks in places like the Hell Creek Formation where I've worked, and you've got dinosaurs, and then there's a line. After that, no more dinosaurs. And the plants see a really dramatic change too. Certain plant species, they're gone. Most of the plants just gone after that, the KPG boundary, Cretaceous Paleogene boundary. So yeah. And this is the environment that's kind of leading up to that in the Campanian stage of the late Cretaceous. Yeah. And Slice is always funny to think, if not for the extinction event, there might never have been humans on Earth. Not might, there would not have been. I'm telling you now. Yeah. Mammals had coexisted with dinosaurs for pretty much the entire Mesozoic era. Almost. Mammals and dinosaurs lived side by side, for well over 100 million years. And mammals never made a move until after the extinction event. They stayed as small, generally insignificant. They weren't the dominant creatures on land by any stretch of the imagination during the entire Mesozoic era. So, yeah, if it hadn't been for that asteroid, that freak event, we wouldn't be here today. And that's, I think, interesting to think about. It makes this more important to study, I think. 'Cause it's like, well, what was Earth like before then? How dramatic was this change? And also, by studying fossils like this, it gives us perspective that, holy cow, asteroids are something to be on the lookout for. We know what they can do now because we've seen this in our study of the fossil record. So it's a darn good thing that, we have space programs different countries have come up with, so we can do things like monitor asteroids. And yeah, if you haven't seen the film Don't Look Up, I would agree that you see that. Do see the film Don't Look Up. Yeah, actually a really excellent portrayal of science in that movie. One of my favorite films. Check it out if you haven't seen it yet. Yeah. Sounds like you're saying we could have all been part T-Rex instead of silly part monkeys. No, I mean, like a hybridization thing. We just wouldn't have, mammals would have remained small little mouse-like critters running around in the underbrush, in the shadow of the dinosaurs if it hadn't been for that extinction event. That's what I'm saying. We wouldn't have even had monkeys evolve. No, it's like mammals would have still been little shrew-like guys, like they had been for over 100 million years. Yeah. What do you think will come after us? I don't know, Retro Roadshow. I try not to think about that too much. If we don't do something about climate change, we're not going to be around for very long. And who knows what'll take over after us. Maybe rats? They seem to be doing pretty well. Yeah. Insect world, says Corin and Baron. Well, it would have to be a critter. If we do manage to just wipe ourselves out through, I don't know, runaway climate change, runaway global warming, or nuclear war, or something like that. Got to think about what are the conditions that would exist after that. And yeah. Having really, really high Earth temperatures, like surface temperatures being really high, probably runaway desertification, so kind of runaway deserts. Yeah, I don't know. What are critters that do well under those circumstances? Rodents tend to do pretty well. Yeah, maybe it'll be rodent world. Yeah. But yeah. And Sick Legend says, I think I'm a little bit more concerned with the current people running the government. I mean, we do have a lot of people in our government who are, I don't know, the current Speaker of the House is, don't even get me, loco for Choco Puffs. Someone who says, somebody who, don't even get me started. Ugh, yeah. We're here to talk about fossils. We're here to talk about scientific discovery. I'm not going to bum myself out talking about politics right now. Yeah. Do cockroaches finally take over? I don't know. Cockroaches they don't do well in cold climates. The only reason that cockroaches exist in most of the U.S. is because of, central heating and stuff. They live inside of buildings. They don't live outside in most parts of the United States. I don't think they live outside anywhere in Canada, because they freeze to death very easily. Yeah, I don't know. They might become more widespread, but they seem to be a group that evolves pretty slowly. I wouldn't expect them to take over, you know? I wouldn't expect to see huge morphological diversification of whatever clade it is that comprises cockroaches. Yeah. But yeah. What about those ecosystems that revolve around deep sea vents? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. They're probably untouched. They're just doing their own thing down there. You know? Life is better down where it's wetter. Under the sea. And Nubo says, is it possible to reverse engineer and clone a dinosaur if there's DNA found in its skin, like this one? That's the thing, is that DNA doesn't seem to last very long. It seems to be a pretty fragile kind of molecule. So even with this preserved skin that we have here is rock. There's not going to be hardly any, if any at all, actual organic material still in here. So yeah. The thing is, even if we had a little bit of dinosaur DNA, we haven't found any yet. Not a single iota, really, of like intact dinosaur DNA. Even if we had a little bit, there is a lot standing in between having even a full genome and then being able to like re-engineer a dinosaur out of it, to clone a dinosaur from that. We can't even clone birds yet. Living birds. No one's been able to clone a bird. And so, like, we would have to be able to do that really, really easily, you know, before we could ever even think about cloning a dinosaur, even if we did have DNA, which we don't. So, yeah. Again, not to be a bummer, but the whole, like, Jurassic Park scenario of, you know, resurrecting dinosaurs with DNA extracted from mosquitoes. It's fantasy. Yeah. My old boss, Jack Horner, who was the scientific consultant on the Jurassic Park films, he said before, like, oh, well, you know, if you can extract DNA from a mosquito in amber and you clone it, you know, end up with a bunch of mosquitoes. It's like, why would you expect that? Even if it did feed on a dinosaur and you found stomach contents, like, it would already be digested, you know, apart from being degraded over tens of millions of years. Yeah, if you got DNA out of mosquito, it would be mosquito DNA. Or maybe it would be DNA from the tree that, you know, expelled that sap that became that resin, that amber. Oh, yeah. And you know, people do clone dogs, for sure, Meow Animagus. Mammals, people can clone, like, because it's very different. With birds, apparently the problem is bird eggs are much larger than mammal eggs. You know, mammal eggs are held internally. They're very, very small. It's easy to get into the nucleus there and kind of mess around with it and put different nuclear material into there. You can't do that with birds, because the egg is so much bigger than, like, the beginnings of the embryo that will become the embryo. No one's been able to do that for birds yet. And birds reproduce in the same way that dinosaurs did. They lay eggs. That's where birds got that from, was from their dinosaur ancestors. And so, yeah, I don't know. Hurdle number one for ever resurrecting dinosaurs a la Jurassic Park would be, like, let's clone some birds. No one's been able to do that. Impossible so far, it seems. Yeah. What about the nucleus of modern reptiles? I think it's the same, Enubo. I think it's the same problem with birds. Yeah. Anywho. Yeah, but, so thank you, Mechanism there. There's, there are some scientists who are working on resurrecting non-avian dinosaurs in kind of a backdoor sort of way. By taking the descendants of extinct dinosaurs, birds, and kind of changing their genome to make them superficially more dinosaur-like, you know? Creating like a facsimile dinosaur by Yeah, by just changing like a chicken genome, for instance, to make it superficially resemble like a velociraptor or something. Birds are dinosaurs. And so, you know, you would be creating a dinosaur, but also that chicken is already a dinosaur. So yeah, it's basically like making an extra cool chicken, is how Jack Horner puts it. And he's on that project. They're still working on it. Turns out to be a lot more complicated than anybody figured. But that's often how science works. Yeah. Anywho. Yeah. Yeah, let's see here. And Blue Phoenix is by playing God. Gotcha. I mean, where do you think domestic chickens came from? These poor birds, like, they've been selectively bred over thousands of generations, so like many of them can't even walk because they're the muscles that people eat are so big. Like, that's already playing God. The things that people do to chickens is and like people never even think about that, you know? That's far less ethical than doing something like this for scientific purposes, to actually learn about how genes express and how embryos develop. Like, that's really cool stuff. And it has, you know, potential for curing human diseases and stuff like that, or making the lives of animals, you know, reducing suffering in people and in domestic animals and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. Nobody ever complains about how chickens have been selectively bred to the point where they lead miserable short lives. That's the real playing God, in my opinion. Yeah. But yeah. Dino Dax says, what pet would be the closest to dinosaurs? Any kind of bird. All birds are living dinosaurs. Here, I've got a... I'll just give you an example of Meleagris gallopavo, the domestic turkey, which... Where did I put that? Do I have the turkey diagram in here? I better. Aha, there we are. This is an infographic that I made a few years back, right before Thanksgiving. But birds, not just chickens, not just cassowaries, not just hoatzins, not just ostriches, all birds are living dinosaurs. I focused on the turkey right here because in this country, many people dissect and eat a turkey carcass for a holiday called Thanksgiving. In other cultures around the world, people eat various other bird carcasses at various other rituals and feasts and holy days and etc. Yeah, I think in the UK, people eat budgies for Boxing Day or something like that. I'm kidding. But I'm not kidding about this. Your turkey or any other bird is a dinosaur. And this is a diagram that I put together kind of showing these different skeletal elements that birds inherited from their dinosaur ancestors. So we've got a velociraptor skeleton right here and a turkey skeleton right here. Yeah, almost everything that makes birds today unique among living animals. Everything from their hollow bones to the shape of their ankle, their wishbone, their hinge-like, or their semilunate carpal, the way that their wrists swivel, their S-shaped neck, even their feathers. Today, birds are the only critters that have any of that stuff. But that didn't used to be the case. Every single one of those features I just named originally appeared in dinosaurs. Dinosaurs first evolved that stuff. Dinosaurs like Velociraptor here. Who's a close relative of the first birds. Birds just inherited all that stuff. Those are all evolutionary hand-me-downs from their dinosaur ancestors. Oh yeah. We used to eat goose at Christmas in the UK, but changed to turkey at some point. Nice, Dendro Patrol. Yeah, I've read Dickens. The great goose, the one as big as me, sir. Yeah. So were dinosaurs as social as birds are? Marcus Bauer, that's a great question. That's a great question. We do have evidence that suggests that many dinosaurs were very social animals. We often find them in groups. So like sometimes you'll find a whole bunch of dinosaurs that all died in the same spot. whether that means that they lived together or they gathered for like the mating season, or whether they hunted in packs or stuff like that. That could be a little harder to figure out the specifics, but we do know that a lot of dinosaurs hung out together in groups. Got very strong evidence of that, just because we find their skeletons together. But another thing is, a lot of dinosaurs have crazy display features on their heads, or on their backs, or wherever else, on their tails. There's a bunch of different dinosaurs. I'll use ceratopsians as an example. There we go. I showed this the other day, but these are just some, maybe about half, of the different ceratopsid dinosaurs that we have, with these crazy horns and frills and spikes and spines, all of this crazy ornamentation that they evolved. Almost think of like birds of paradise today, with all their crazy display feathers and stuff. These dinosaurs evolved like this crazy stuff on their skulls. And it doesn't seem to be for defense. I mean, those horns would be useful in like fighting off a predator. Just poking them with those horns, sure. But also that beak was really formidable. Like that, think about how hard a parrot can bite. This is an animal the size of a school bus. Or, I don't know, size of a small school bus. It's got some enormous jaws on it. Like, if they really want to fend off a predator, they could just bite them. Bite off their arms or whatever. So it doesn't seem like these structures evolved for defense. This seems to be for display. And animals that have crazy display structures like this tend to be very social today. Think about like different kinds of ungulate out on the African veldt. Think about different species of antelope out on the savanna, and they've got all these different like horn shapes. That's so they can tell who is part of what species, and then they can like signal to one another like, oh look, I'm the biggest, strongest one in the group. Stuff like that. It all has to do with like interacting with one another, being social. We think the dinosaurs are like this too. It's not just ceratopsians. We have duckbill dinosaurs with crazy crests that were hollow that they used to. We think they used them for communication, to blow air through to produce different sounds, keep in touch with each other as the herd would move across the landscape. We've got theropod dinosaurs, meat-eating dinosaurs with crazy like ornamentation on their heads, little horns and stuff like that, crests. We have every indication that dinosaurs would have been very social animals, not just because we find them together in groups as fossils, but also because they've got these structures on their bodies that seem to be consistent with very social animals today. Does that make sense? Yeah, it makes me think of jumping spiders, all of their patterns and dances. There you go, Sibley, yeah. And were these actual horns as bovine horns and structures? I mean, I cannot think of a bird with a horn. Ooh, Ivanorium, great question. And thank you, Kodali, for reposting that. I'd missed it. Ivanorium, yeah, there are a few birds that have bony structures on their heads, but they're not very common. Cassowaries have that, from Australia and New Guinea. And the helmeted guinea fowl has got a bony helmet on top of its head, hence the name, helmeted guinea fowl. But yeah, for the most part, birds don't have that. And that's because, birds are dinosaurs, but birds are weird dinosaurs. They tend to be small, they tend to be very lightweight. There's some flitting around down there. I just saw some mourning doves. Uh-oh. Anytime mourning doves go down into the ground like that, either they've got a nest or they know there's a storm coming in. Yeah, I might want to wrap this up pretty soon because it looks like we might be getting some weather here. Anyway, my point was birds are weird dinosaurs. They tend to be small, they tend to be extremely lightweight because they have to fly. So birds are like hyper-specialized dinosaurs, and they've lost a lot of the different stuff that made that characterized Mesozoic dinosaurs, non-avian dinosaurs. Yeah. Yeah. Must be why they survived as well, being smaller than the average dinosaur. Exactly, Anakin Gabriel. Yeah. That's one of the patterns we see in the end Cretaceous extinction. Is the smaller you are, the more likely it is that you survive the extinction event. Yeah. And thank you, Popsicles. Hey, I'll take you up on that sometime, maybe. Bubbles Nut says, where is all the snow? There's a little bit over there, on those hills, a few dozen miles away, but most of it's melted at this point. Yeah. I'm getting some raindrops here. I might be wrapping this up soon. But yeah. One type of stegosaurus. Oh no, Zool. There's so many different species of dinosaur. With duckbill dinosaurs like this guy that we've got here, there's there's probably close to 40 different. No, there's got to be more than that. There's so many different species of duckbill dinosaur nowadays. Although when we talk about species versus genera in dinosaurs, most dinosaur genera are monospecific. So like each genus only has one species. It's kind of the way that the dinosaurs were named. So when I say genus or species, they're pretty much synonymous when we're talking about dinosaurs. So yeah, anyway, point is there's a bunch of different species, a bunch of different kinds of duckbill dinosaurs like this. And ours is probably going to be new. That's why this site is so important. And that's why we're here working even when the weather gets a little interesting. I'll stream for a few more minutes, but we'll see where this is going. We might get rained out here. I might have to cut the stream. Not cut it short, but might have to end it. Anywho. And okay to play. Hey, thank you. Mods are doing great work here, for sure. Yeah. And Nami Norm says, whenever you watch or see a movie or TV show, do you spot lots of flaws or inaccuracies in the representations of said dinosaur? Here we go. Okay, good. So the power cord on here got disconnected, and so the encoder device wasn't being powered by the battery, and eventually its internal battery ran out. So I'm going to have to figure out a way to keep that power cable from jiggling out of there. So sorry about that, everybody, but thank you for sticking with me. We are back again. Yeah. To find a really big rubber band or something to make sure that power cord doesn't slip out, because otherwise we've only got about 3 hours. But yeah. I'm not going to glue the power cord. What are you talking about? You don't glue cables into places. It's not how it works. But yeah. Anyway, welcome. If anybody's just tuning in, my name is Danny Anduza. I'm here in western Wyoming digging up dinosaurs, and glad you're along for the ride. So ask me any questions you've got. Yeah. Anywho, yeah. And I'm almost 1,600 people watching. I know, isn't this incredible? What a wonderful opportunity for some science outreach. Let's go see what the guys are working on up there. We're kind of reaching the end of our workday here. It's 5 p.m. here in Wyoming. And you guys about ready to go back, you think, pretty soon? Yeah, all right. Yeah. Nice, look at that surface. Fine work, guys. Nicely done. Yeah, excellent. And we will have some weather blowing in pretty soon, it looks like. I see rain over there.
Oh boy.
So we'll probably want to wrap this up soon. But yeah, excellent work.
Want to go up here and check this out?
Yeah.
Nothing too crazy, but on this nice crevice
look at that.
here, and I think part of the bone's sticking out. I was gonna have you stick your camera down in there and ask Chad if they could see a bone, kind of like right where my finger is.
Uh-huh.
So I think it comes out a little bit. And I think-
Interesting. I'd have to get a light and maybe feel around and
yeah, I
take
can't.
a look,
It's
but
hard to see.
that would be exciting because it would be kind of lousy if, the bone just stops right here. It doesn't go in. But
Yeah, it's
what are the odds of that? Not very high, I think. I think we will have bone down here. Yeah, exciting.
Pretty cool.
Thank you for all your hard work, guys, while I've been just talking to the camera.
Oh, that's cool. I like hearing you guys talk and interact.
Thanks, yeah. Oh, this is great. And again, kind of an easygoing day. Ethan will be here eventually with the rock saw, and we'll just be going to town on this stuff, cutting it up, and
Yeah, look forward to that.
yeah, carrying some pieces back to camp. So yeah. Anyway, and yeah, everybody's saying hello to the crew. So yeah, we got James and Doug and Nick here, and Yeah, it's about the end of our day. It's 5 p.m. We're going to go back to camp and hopefully not get rained on too bad here. So let's go ahead and end the broadcast. If you guys want to start packing up your stuff and even heading down, you know, don't wait for me. Don't want you to get rained on just because I'm taking a long time. So yeah, holy cow. I'll find a way to keep that cord from disconnecting in the future. But yeah. And what was your question there, Zigaf? Re-ask the question that you had? And stream camp. So I can't stream camp right now because the satellite dish is stationary. I can't carry that down. I would have to bring it all the way back to camp and then set it up there. But we will do a campfire stream at some point. But we've got rain clouds coming in, and those are probably going to hit us. So I don't think tonight's a good night for a campfire stream. But we will do that. We will do that. You can hold me to it. And you bosses, are you expecting to find more material nearby? Absolutely. That's why we're digging in right there. Yeah. Cactus Jack, thank you for the kind words. Appreciate that. Yeah. And from Nami Norms, whenever you watch or see a movie... Oh, we did talk about that. Oh. Did it cut out before that? Yes. All the time. Watching media with dinosaurs, you know, as a paleontologist, it's like, oh boy, why is this so badly wrong? What were they thinking? Stuff like that. And sometimes we're pleasantly surprised if the depictions are really good. It depends. Yeah. But we'll talk more about that in the future. That's a big part of my office streams, is talking about different media and yeah. But the wind is really picking up here. Let's go ahead and wrap this thing up, everybody. Let's see who else is live on Twitch right now. And we will raid out somebody else doing something. Let's see here. Oh man, the wind. Oh, Science Streams is on. Let's go raid into Balint. There we go. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. I will be streaming again as soon as I can. Hopefully that'll be tomorrow. Alright. Raid Science _ streams. Beautiful. Alright. Again, thank you for watching. Thanks for your patience when we worked out some technical issues. Live broadcast, you never know what's going to happen. But I might be at this site tomorrow, or I might be at a different site. But I'm going to be trying to bring you some more live paleontological fieldwork. So I hope you can be here for it. Thank you, everybody, for your support. Financial support is the reason why I'm out here right now, and the reason that we can be digging here. So thank you so much for that. And let's go ahead and raid into Science Streams. I'm going to talk to another scientist there. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.